Serena Sinclair didn't think she'd done anything wrong. She was used to having Ethan Young around in the same way she was used to a dog she'd owned for 5 years. This familiarity had nothing to do with emotion. So, emotionally speaking, she hadn't betrayed Lucas Taylor. For example, she wanted to marry Lucas Taylor, start a family, have a child, but she could never imagine doing those things with Ethan Young, who would marry a dog and have children with it. For these 5 years, she had simply treated Ethan Young as a useful servant. They had no physical intimacy, much less any desire in that regard. It was a purely professional employer-employee relationship. Serena Sinclair sipped her drink, her lips stained red. She licked a trace of alcohol from the corner of her mouth and said, "Why can't I do what men do?" In their circle, it was far too common for married men to secretly keep mistresses. Even her own father had kept one before. Sophia Sullivan was stunned. "You really managed to learn all the bad habits instead of the good ones." She suddenly understood why Ethan Young had left without looking back. Even a dog would bite you before running off if treated that way. But Serena Sinclair was still lost in the pleasant fantasy she'd woven for herself, trying to rationalize her cheating. "Have you asked about the situation over at Seabreeze General Hospital?" Serena put down her glass. "No." Sophia probed cautiously. "Well, why don't you ask now?" Serena held her phone for a long moment. Then, under Sophia Sullivan's expectant gaze, dialed the hospital. As soon as the call connected, Serena asked directly, "Has Ethan Young moved rooms recently? How is his sister doing now? Has she been causing any trouble?" "Miss Sinclair, Ethan Young is processing discharge papers. They're leaving the hospital tomorrow." Ethan Young was serious. He really wasn't going to put up with her anymore. Serena's recently calmed expression turned ugly again. Weren't they just talking about transferring rooms? Why are they being discharged? Is he abandoning his sister? I wouldn't know about that. After you stopped payments, he didn't resume them. Maybe he couldn't afford the medical fees. Sophia Sullivan didn't think so. Ethan Young had been with Serena Sinclair for 5 years. She didn't believe he hadn't managed to squirrel away some money, that he couldn't even cover these medical costs. It was more likely he chose to transfer hospitals to cut ties cleanly with Serena, ensuring she couldn't control him. Ethan Young actually had some foresight, guessing Serena Sinclair's plan early on and cutting things off completely, leaving no room for negotiation. It was incredible, yet logical. Even a dog will bite if you hit it hard enough, let alone a person. If Ethan Young had continued to weakly endure it, he truly wouldn't be much of a man. Serena Sinclair hadn't expected to suffer consecutive setbacks over the same issue on the same day. She almost wondered if she was dreaming, hallucinating, or if Ethan Young had lost his mind. Otherwise, why would he quit his job and discharge his sister from the hospital simultaneously? Did he plan to stop her treatment? Just let her fend for herself? If that was the case, what leverage would she have over him in the future? Sophia Sullivan cleared her throat slightly and asked the question she'd been wanting to ask for a while. "How much money did you give Ethan Young over the years he was with you?" "Not much." "How much is not much?" Serena calculated. "Besides the $200,000 I gave him the day he left, maybe over the whole 5-year contract, his savings only amounted to just over $1 million. Just over $1 million? Is that low?" Sophia Sullivan fell into a strange silence. 5 years, and Ethan Young's savings were just over $1 million. Although men in their circle liked to cheat and keep mistresses, compared to Serena Sinclair, they were at least generous, giving luxury cars or high-end properties as parting gifts, or casually tossing out $5 million. Serena continued, "He was almost sold off to some old woman by his company back then. I saved him. I paid his sister's medical expenses all these years. And I invested in quite a few film and TV resources for him over the years." Sophia muttered under her breath, almost inaudibly, "You might as well not have invested in those resources. They ruined his image, the pay was low, and it was all pointless suffering. Besides that, I gave him regular pocket money, let him live in the penthouse, and bought him couture clothing. That designer stuff must have cost millions altogether. Did he take it with him? I didn't let him take it, and it proves I was right. Give him too much, and he forgets his place. He dares to quit and transfer hospitals with just $1 million in hand. Give him tens of millions, and wouldn't he just leave the country?" Serena's face was cold, and she gritted her teeth whenever Ethan Young was mentioned, followed by a wave of heart palpitations and panic. Ethan Young had followed Serena Sinclair for 5 years, taken care of her for 5 years, obeyed her for 5 years. In their eyes, Ethan Young was always quiet and obedient, doing whatever Serena Sinclair said. He was the ultimate pushover in men's eyes, yet a paragon of a good man in women's hearts. Honestly, Sophia Sullivan had never imagined Ethan Young would just walk away. Serena usually didn't dare give Ethan Young too much money because she anticipated he would take the money and leave. So, what reason made her distrust Ethan Young even before this? Perhaps it was because there was no love for Serena Sinclair in Ethan Young's eyes. Although he was completely subservient to her, he didn't love her. Only this could make Serena Sinclair so insecure, and what usually makes a woman feel this way is that, deep down, she cares about him. Having figured this out, Sophia Sullivan's mouth opened slightly. After a moment, she tried to soothe her. Maybe it's just temporary. He has no job, hardly any savings, and his sister is waiting for a heart transplant. When he can't hold out anymore, he'll come back to you. But I remember, didn't you give him $2 million when you signed that standing contract with him? What happened to that money? Did he spend it all? I don't know where he spent it, maybe paying off debts. Anyway, that $2 million isn't in his savings. $2 million wasn't much to them. Serena Sinclair herself had spent $2 or $3 million just on in-game purchases. But for someone as frugal as Ethan Young, having $2 million vanish without a trace just felt wrong to Sophia. Serena forcefully slammed her phone down on the coffee table in front of her, her fingertips trembling. Her already slightly red eyes became redder. She now regretted it intensely. If she had known, she wouldn't have given Ethan Young all that pocket money back then. She should have left him penniless, then see if he still dared to cut ties with her. Serena's breathing grew tight. Anyone could see her temper was flaring. Yet, someone chose that moment to obliviously approach. Serena, Sophia. The person eagerly joining them was Alice Taylor, Lucas Taylor's younger sister. I've been looking for you everywhere. I can't believe you're here. What are you talking about? Can I join? Sophia Sullivan subtly tried to decline. We're talking about men. It's not suitable for you. Alice Taylor excitedly sat down on Serena Sinclair's other side. I want to talk about men too. By the way, Serena, last month at Central Plaza, I saw a man with you. He was wearing a black mask, very tall, and his hairstyle was a bit like my brother's. Who was that man? Serena glanced sideways at her. What? Alice Taylor blinked her beautiful eyes, half shy and half playfully flirtatious. Can you introduce him to me? Alice Taylor, a 22-year-old performing arts student, had already landed roles in a few films before graduating. Though they were supporting parts, the characters were likable and the director skilled, earning her a decent fan base. She spent most of her time either at school or on set, so she didn't interact much with Serena Sinclair and her circle. Serena Sinclair's relationship with Alice's brother was an open secret. Both families assumed they would eventually marry, and Alice already considered Serena her sister-in-law. As the pampered youngest daughter of the Taylor family, Alice was somewhat naive and sheltered, unable to read people well. An innocent expression always on her face, she clung affectionately to Serena Sinclair's arm, pleading like a child. Serena, sis, please introduce me to him. I'm really interested. Serena Sinclair crossed her legs, appearing relaxed, but a less-than-friendly smile played on her lips. Why are you interested in him? He was wearing a mask. You couldn't even see his face clearly. Oblivious to the subtle warning, Alice drifted into her memories, talking more to herself. His eyes were just captivating. I was at Central Plaza, taking photos of street scenes for inspiration when I saw you too. I was about to come over and say hi, but then he suddenly turned and looked right at my camera. In that instant, his eyes completely mesmerized me. I just froze. By the time I snapped out of it, you were already getting into the car. Even though she hadn't seen his whole face, his build, complexion, hair, and overall aura screamed handsome. Especially those eyes. Alice had never seen eyes quite like them. She quickly snapped a photo, which was still saved in her phone's gallery. Serena Sinclair had always known Ethan Young's face attracted women, but she hadn't expected just his eyes alone could captivate Alice Taylor. He really is trouble, she thought. Serena sneered inwardly, her gaze dropping to Alice's hand clutching her arm. Asterisk looks like she really likes Ethan Young. Her hands even trembling. Asterisk, what was this? Love at first sight? Serena, what's his name? Can you give me his contact info? Does he work for you? I saw him driving you that day. Is he a bodyguard or an assistant? Alice chirped away like a sparrow, making Serena's temples throb. Him? He's trash. Just a pretty face he uses to prey on naive girls like you. Don't be stupid. Him? How could he? Alice couldn't quite believe it. Someone with eyes like that didn't seem like a bad person. Serena scoffed. Why couldn't he? Do you know him? Do you really know him? Are you going to trust a pair of eyes over me? Someone you've known for 20 years? Alice, I wouldn't hurt you. I'm telling you this to protect you from bad men. You're too innocent, too easily deceived. You need to be careful out there. Besides, she added, that man's an actor too. He's done plenty of disgusting, low-life things to get ahead. Like what? I'm afraid it would just dirty your ears. Alice's curiosity was piqued. She shook Serena's arm again. Serena, just tell me. Like selling his body for roles, being kept by someone. Plenty of people sleep their way to the top in entertainment. And with a face like his, he plays the field, men and women. Besides, he's probably not as good-looking as you imagine. Take off the mask, and you might even find him repulsive. Serena knew exactly what type of person disgusted Alice the most, so she piled on the repulsive details, lying effortlessly. She painted Ethan Young as unscrupulous, a homewrecker who interfered in other people's relationships. She claimed he acted like a diva despite having no real fame, bullied newcomers on set, didn't take acting seriously, only looked for shortcuts, and relied heavily on body doubles. Sure enough, Alice's eyes widened in horror. Just like that, her interest vanished. She felt a wave of disappointment and frustration. How could she have been so wrong about someone? She'd finally met someone who made her heart flutter at first sight, only for him to be such scum. Was she just naturally attracted to jerks? Actually, this wasn't the first time Alice had felt this way about a man. The last time was 7 years ago. She'd been scrolling through her friend's phone and saw a short web drama featuring a strikingly handsome supporting actor. Too much time had passed. She'd been too young then, and life had been filled with trivial matters, making her forget the show and the actor. All she remembered were his brilliant, clear eyes. She'd almost completely forgotten until that chance encounter reminded her of that first teenage crush. She had recently been cast in a new drama about a female lead's secret crush. Playing the protagonist and tackling her first major romantic role, she treasured the opportunity. However, nerves and inexperience had kept her from fully getting into character. Now, perhaps, she understood that feeling a little better. Serena, what's that man's name? Serena tensed slightly, her eyes narrowing, her smile not reaching them. What? Still interested in scum like him? No, absolutely not. Alice quickly shook her head, explaining, I just want to know his name. If I ever run into him again by accident, I'll know to stay far away. Serena's eyes darkened. She gently stroked Alice's hair, her voice softening. His name is Ethan Young. Young as in a young family. Remember that name, and stay away if you hear it. He's a master actor. Don't let him fool you. Okay, I will. Such a clean-sounding name for such a dirty person, Alice thought, disappointed. Serena, you seem to know him really well. Serena didn't flinch, letting out a short, derisive laugh. Because he tried to hit on me once, I put him firmly in his place. Satisfied, Alice left. Watching the young woman walk away, Sophia Sullivan, standing nearby, felt a prickle on her scalp and touched the back of her neck, finding it clammy with cold sweat. Listening to their conversation, she thought Serena Sinclair was the real actor. Her expression and tone had been flawless. If Sophia hadn't known Ethan Young herself, she would have believed every word. She couldn't believe Serena would resort to such vicious slander just to crush Alice's interest in Ethan Young. Serena's smile had vanished. She traced the rim of her glass, her expression turning grim. A fleeting look of fierce darkness crossed her face, so quick Sophia almost thought she'd imagined it. When she looked again, it was gone. Serena Sinclair's feelings for Ethan Young clearly went far beyond a typical employer-employee relationship, and certainly weren't like those towards a mere pet. She reacted with intense hostility towards anyone who showed interest in him, her eyes radiating possessiveness. Sophia Sullivan herself had once harbored a faint, unrealistic fantasy that someday, when Serena tired of Ethan, she could perhaps take him off her hands, upgrade her own lifestyle a bit. After all, she could afford whatever Serena was giving him. Looking at Serena now, she knew that was utterly impossible. Just then, Ethan Young turned his head and sneezed. Zara Sinclair, sitting across from him, asked, "Catching a cold?" Ethan Young touched the tip of his nose. "No, it just suddenly got itchy. It's gotten cold quickly in Maplewood lately. Try not to catch anything," Zara Sinclair said, glancing outside at the sky. "I wonder if it'll even snow in Maplewood this year." Hard to say. It rarely snows in the South. The year before last, Maplewood got a light dusting. Zara Sinclair looked back at Ethan Young, resting her chin on her hand. "I actually quite like snowy days. How about you?" "I like them too." Before his parents' accident, Ethan had planned to apply to universities up north for college. He'd wanted to experience a different kind of life there, build his career, and see real winter snow. But then his younger sister, Emily Young, got sick and was hospitalized. He couldn't bear to be far from her, so he stayed, focusing on making money every day, and gradually forgot about those earlier dreams. "Well, maybe we could find a time to watch the snow together this year, if it does." Ethan Young paused, looking at Zara Sinclair across from him, who was still resting her chin on her hand and looking at him earnestly. It might have just been polite small talk, but he still felt a flicker of something. Zara Sinclair liked snow. Sinclair hated it. Serena's constitution was poor. She hated the cold, and winter most of all. She caught colds easily, and whenever she got sick, she'd sulk and find fault with everything Ethan did. A classic case of, if I'm miserable, you're going to be miserable too. She'd make Ethan jump into the lake in the dead of winter to retrieve a hair tie she'd casually tossed in, just to watch him fumble and shiver in the icy water, his face pale with cold, only letting him out once he'd found it. She derived pleasure from tormenting him, building her happiness on his misery. Ethan Young just smiled without answering Zara Sinclair. Who could say what the future held? They had originally planned to rest a bit after lunch and then go see a movie, but the film's subject matter was niche, and none of the nearby theaters were showing it. They finally found one that was, but the screening wasn't until that evening. Just as Ethan Young was wondering how to fill the afternoon, a phone chimed. Both phones lying on the table lit up simultaneously. It wasn't a coincidence. Grandma Wood had secretly created a group chat for the two of them. She'd texted in the group, "Have you two met up yet?" Zara Sinclair picked up her phone. "It's a message from Grandma Wood in the group chat. Should you reply, or should I?" Ethan Young had seen it too. "You go ahead." Zara Sinclair nodded and sent a voice message back. "Grandma Wood, we've met up. Have you eaten yet?" "Just finished." "What did you have?" "Spicy barbecue." "What was your first impression of Ethan? Isn't he incredibly handsome in person?" A smile touched Zara Sinclair's lips as she glanced across at Ethan Young. He was pointedly looking out the window one moment, then up at the ceiling the next, pretending to be very busy and not listening. Zara Sinclair suppressed her amusement. "He's not bad. See? Grandma Wood knows you best. The moment I saw Ethan, I knew he was just your type. Tall, handsome. Good men like him are rare, you know. You have to grab this chance. If you let him slip away, Grandma Wood will be heartbroken." Clearly, Grandma Wood was treating the group chat like a private one. Zara Sinclair didn't stop her, just kept listening to Grandma Wood ramble on. She played the voice message aloud, ensuring not only she could hear it, but Ethan, sitting opposite her, could hear every word perfectly clearly. Ethan Young could pretend not to be looking, but he couldn't pretend to be deaf. As Grandma Wood started praising Ethan, she seemed to gain energy, growing more enthusiastic with every word. "Zara, let me tell you, Ethan's waist is fantastic. One time I fell, and he scooped me right up without even wobbling. I secretly felt it, solid muscle, at least an 8-pack. And look at his nose, his Adam's apple, his fingers. It all points to him being very capable in that department. Plenty of stamina, too. I spent 2 years carefully vetting him as my potential grandson-in-law, you know. My judgment is impeccable. If you two hit it off, hurry up and get married. Go enjoy a happy life together. Who knows, maybe I'll be holding a great-grandchild by next year." Grandma Wood chuckled as she spoke. Even Zara Sinclair, who had spent 6 years in the relatively open environment of Country Y, felt a bit awkward and fidgeted, tracing patterns on the table. Outwardly, however, she remained composed and unfazed. She even brazenly let her gaze travel over Ethan Young, starting from his face, down past his throat where his Adam's apple bobbed, and continuing lower. She wanted to see if his waist was as impressive as Grandma Wood claimed. Unfortunately, the table blocked her view. His fingers, though, were very long. Ethan Young's fingers were long and elegant, with clearly defined knuckles. They were the kind of fingers you could imagine gliding skillfully over piano keys, the kind of fingers that made you want to interlace yours with them. Ethan Young pressed his lips together tightly, his ears feeling hot. He saw Grandma Wood was still sending voice messages, each one a minute long, containing who knows what explicit details. Seeing that Zara Sinclair intended to keep listening right there in front of him, he quickly intervened. He sent an emoji, one from the Blooming Riches series popular with the older generation, featuring a lotus flower slowly closing its petals. Asterisk shutting down. Asterisk. Grandma Wood, I'm here too. Grandma Wood didn't seem to register immediately. After a minute of silence, she sent a peony emoji sticker with the caption, "Good afternoon. May your life be colorful and flavorful." "Oh, Ethan, I didn't realize you were in here too." "No, I didn't know this was a group chat. I thought I was messaging Zara privately." Grandma Wood didn't mean anything by it, just praising your good waist, stamina, and looks. "Of course. Zara's not bad either. She has a great figure, just doesn't really like dressing up much. I have a photo here I've been saving. Take a look." After sending the message, Grandma would send a photo. It showed Zara Sinclair in a red dress, striking a graceful pose. The dress was a daring backless design, revealing skin as fair and smooth as jade. 2 elegant shoulder blades, her butterfly bones, were visible, and a delicate pearl back chain traced her spine down to her waist. She was sitting on a swing, looking back over her shoulder, her eyes bright from the camera flash. It was clearly a candid shot. While not perfect from a technical photography standpoint, the subject's beauty made it captivating, the kind of picture that was stunning no matter how it was taken, instantly unforgettable. Ethan Young felt his heart quicken. He quickly put his phone down. But as he did, he accidentally pressed play on Grandma Wood's last voice message. "Isn't she gorgeous? Just imagining the two of you standing together is wonderful. I've never seen a man and woman who look so perfect for each other." Grandma Wood's sentiment was clear. Shipping my own matchmaking creation is the best. In the small space, it was impossible to avoid catching each other's eye, no matter how much they tried. As he looked at Zara Sinclair, she was also looking at him. "You. I." They both started to speak at the same time. Ethan Young said, "You go first." Zara Sinclair put her glasses back on, picking them up from the table. "Don't pay too much attention to what my grandma would said in the chat. Just go at your own pace. Don't worry about us." "Okay, I'm done. Your turn." Ethan Young asked, "So, where should we go this afternoon?" Since the movie was showing too late, after talking it over, they decided to spend the afternoon visiting Grandma Wood at the Pinecrest Rehabilitation Center instead. Besides, the restaurant they were going to was close to Pinecrest, only a 15-minute walk. Grandma Wood's face lit up with surprise when she saw them, but she couldn't resist scolding them gently. "Shouldn't you two be on a date? What are you doing here at the rehabilitation center? Coming to a place like this on your first meeting, isn't that bad luck? We just want to stop by and see you first. We'll do other things after we visit," Zara Sinclair said as she arranged the flowers she'd brought in a vase. Grandma Wood feigned annoyance. "There's nothing interesting to see here with me, dear." Ethan Young spoke up. "Actually, I wanted to see you, Grandma Wood. Would you like a snack? I brought macarons." At the mention of snacks, Grandma Wood quickly waved them closer. She had Zara Sinclair and Ethan Young stand together, and just as she'd imagined, the handsome man and beautiful woman looked perfect together. Maybe it was just her imagination, but she felt they even had the look of a married couple already. The more she looked, the more pleased she was. She'd already started thinking of names for their great-grandchildren. With parents this good-looking, their children were bound to be beautiful. Grandma would beckon them closer again, taking one of each of their hands. Her gaze towards them was full of affection. "So, are you two happy with each other? Just say whatever's on your mind. Don't be shy. It's better to find any issues now, so we can sort them out and avoid trouble later. You're both good kids in my eyes, and I genuinely want you both to be happy. It would be such a shame if you missed this chance." Although Grandma would verbally told them to go at their own pace, the moment she saw them together, she couldn't help but push for marriage, terrified they might let this opportunity slip away. Zara Sinclair took Grandma Wood's slightly cool hand and gently massaged her fingers. "Grandma Wood, please don't worry about us. Ethan and I are just getting to know each other. If you rush us like this, you'll scare us both off. You can't rush relationships. Getting married in a hurry is the easiest way to cause problems. Besides, I think Ethan's opinion is very important here, so please don't pressure him. But don't worry, even if we don't become a couple, we can still be good friends, right, Ethan?" Zara Sinclair winked at Ethan Young. Ethan Young nodded along. Yes. Grandma would felt a slight shift in her heart. No one knew her granddaughter better than she did. She had raised Zara Sinclair, and she knew her tastes instantly. It went without saying, Ethan Young was definitely Zara Sinclair's type. If she didn't like him, Zara Sinclair wouldn't bother defending him like that. Her saying Ethan Young was good meant he really was good, and she was very pleased. Grandma would knew better than to push too hard and risk messing things up. Still, the way she looked at Ethan Young was like staring at glittering gold. "All right then," she conceded. "Start as friends first. Get to know each other better. Go out and have fun while you're young." She refrained from listing their compatible qualities. Some things were useless just hearing about them. You had to experience them firsthand to truly understand. Grandma would let go of their hands and turned her attention to the snacks. She couldn't eat much, just a piece or two, saving the rest for tomorrow. Her attending physician, Dr. Johnson, came in to check on her and make notes. He wasn't surprised to see 2 extra people in the room, as he'd met both of them before, especially Zara Sinclair. "Miss Sinclair." "Hello, Dr. Johnson." Dr. Johnson nodded, his lips moving as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. After a moment, he said, "Miss Sinclair, there's a charge that requires your personal confirmation." Zara Sinclair understood immediately that Dr. Johnson wanted to speak with her privately. She reacted quickly. "Grandma Wood, I'll go with Dr. Johnson to confirm this, then. Grandma Wood waved her off. Go ahead. Ethan's here with me. It's fine. Zara Sinclair glanced at Ethan Young, who gave a silent nod. She followed Dr. Johnson out and into his office. Once inside, she asked directly, Dr. Johnson, is something wrong with my grandmother's health? Just as she'd suspected, Dr. Johnson handed Zara Sinclair the report from Grandma Wood's checkup that morning. Her condition isn't very good. Various systems are having issues. Besides her blood sugar, her blood pressure is also very high. You can look at the data here. Although Zara Sinclair wasn't medically trained, she could understand the basic data, especially with the more significant issues clearly marked. An 80-year-old woman. Every organ in her body was aging. On top of that, the CT scan of Grandma Wood's brain showed a tumor in a dangerous location. Surgery would be high risk, but without it, the tumor would eventually press on her nerves and cause problems. Her situation right now is precarious. Dr. Johnson continued. Actually, her health hasn't been good for years, but she didn't tell you because she was afraid of worrying you. Zara Sinclair couldn't believe it. Grandma Wood seemed so vibrant. She didn't look like someone suffering from serious illness at all. Then Zara Sinclair suddenly recalled Grandma Wood's sallow complexion and cold hands. The signs had been there all along. No wonder she was so eager to push her towards marriage with Ethan Young. She was afraid she wouldn't live to see Zara Sinclair's wedding day. Regarding the surgery, you should discuss it with your family. My personal recommendation is conservative treatment. Also, you should prepare yourselves. Dr. Johnson didn't elaborate, but his eyes told Zara Sinclair everything she needed to know. Grandma Wood's condition was critical. Zara Sinclair forced herself to remain calm. What's the success rate for the surgery? Less than 30%. And if the surgery is successful, can she make a full recovery? The possibility of lingering complications can't be ruled out. Dr. Johnson laid out all the risks for Zara Sinclair. The more he explained, the paler her face became, until it was completely drained of color. This was the kind of conversation they couldn't have in front of the patient. Given her poor health and spirits, the shock could easily upset her and accelerate her decline. Meanwhile, Ethan Young patiently chatted with Grandma Wood. She leaned in conspiratorially. Ethan, tell me honestly, what do you think of Zara? Ethan Young answered earnestly. We've only just met, so I don't know her very well yet. I mean your first impression. My first impression is very good. It was the truth. Ethan Young hadn't interacted with many women over the years. If he had to make a comparison, the only one who came to mind was Serena Sinclair, and there was no question Zara Sinclair was superior in every way. Just based on basic respect for others, she left Serena Sinclair miles behind. That's good then. Grandma Wood started to say something else, but was suddenly overcome by a coughing fit, clutching her head as she coughed. Ethan Young quickly steadied her. Grandma would have been on in 4 drip for days, and the back of her hand showed a clear needle mark. She was so thin. The skin on her hand looked like a layer of wrinkled, damp paper clinging to the bone, completely devoid of color. Zara Sinclair had been gone for a long time. Ethan Young's heart sank as a bad feeling instinctively surfaced. There were things doctors couldn't say in front of patients for fear of upsetting them, so they'd often find an excuse to speak privately with the family. When Emily Young had her heart attack relapse years ago, the doctor had called him out just like this, telling him to prepare himself. The more careful doctors were about avoiding the patient, the more serious the situation usually was. Could it be that Grandma Wood? Ethan Young tightened his grip on her hand. 10 minutes later, Zara Sinclair returned, her expression carefully neutral. She sat by the bed, peeling an orange and feeding segments to Grandma Wood one by one. The two chatted, with Grandma Wood reminiscing about Zara Sinclair's childhood. She talked about how rebellious Zara had been as a child. Told to tend flowers, she'd climb trees. Told to learn piano, she'd play chess with the old men in the park. Told to take dance lessons, she'd practice combat fighting instead. When a teacher said girls couldn't handle science, she deliberately majored in it and graduated top of her class. Listening to the stories made one chuckle. It was past 5 in the afternoon when they finally left the room. Inside the elevator, Ethan Young watched their reflections on the polished wall. His attention was fixed on Zara Sinclair. Ever since she'd returned from speaking with the doctor, he sensed something was off with her emotions, despite how well she hid it. Ethan Young, Zara Sinclair said suddenly, about getting married. Could you please seriously consider it? I want to get married as soon as possible. Name your conditions. Ethan Young, could you please seriously consider this marriage proposal? I want to get married as soon as possible. Name your terms. Zara Sinclair pressed her lips together. She put on a good front, at least, to Ethan Young, Her gaze seemed calm. Only upon closer look could one see her hands clenched tightly, the corners of her eyes slightly red. Sarah Sinclair watched Ethan Young in the elevator's reflective wall. She didn't press him for an answer, just waited quietly. After a moment, Ethan Young asked in a low voice, "What did Dr. Johnson tell you when he asked you to step out? Was it about Grandma Wood's health?" Ethan Young had been through something similar, so he could guess. With a ding, the elevator reached the ground floor. Sarah Sinclair paused for a few seconds, stepping out only as the doors began to close. The doctors found a tumor in Grandma Wood's brain. It's in a dangerous spot, the surgery success rate isn't high, and even if it works, there could be side effects. Seabreeze General Hospital recommended conservative treatment and told me to prepare myself. Ethan Young, how am I supposed to prepare for that? She stopped walking, unwilling to go further. Ethan Young, beside her, stopped too. Outside the hospital, the wind was strong, and even at this hour, there were still many people around. They both wore masks, but their striking figures and presence still drew attention from passersby. Sarah Sinclair's eyelids seemed redder now, her eyelashes trembling like the fluttering wings of black butterflies. Ethan Young took Sarah Sinclair's wrist and led her to a quieter spot. He comforted her softly. "Miss Sinclair, I have a sister, Emily Young. She was born with a congenital heart defect. When she was born, doctors, even fortune tellers, said she wouldn't live past 10. But she's 18 this year. When she was 11, her condition worsened after a relapse. We transferred her between 5 hospitals in 1 month. I was signing forms every day. 7 years of treatment. I can't tell you how many critical condition notices I signed for her. Even when you think you're prepared, you're still scared. You can't get used to it. It's impossible. Even now that her condition has stabilized, I'm still constantly worried. I'm not telling you all this to compare hardships. I just want to say, if you can't predict the future, it's better to live in the present and cherish every moment with your loved ones. I also hope some of the luck I've had can rub off on you. Maybe there'll be a miracle. Maybe things aren't as bad as you think. What if Grandma Wood recovers?" Ethan Young said a lot all at once. He was usually reserved and didn't talk much, so he wasn't sure if this would comfort Sarah Sinclair. Sarah Sinclair found herself drawn to Ethan Young's deep, bright eyes. Her anxiety eased for a moment. Her lips moved. "You're right," she said. I'm used to preparing for the worst. Anticipate, prepare in advance. Minimize the potential damage as much as possible. Grandma Wood hasn't been well since my grandfather passed away. All these years I've been abroad building my career, she never told me when she was sick. She only ever shared happy things with me. That time she fell. No one helped her up. If you hadn't taken her to the hospital, she might have." Even though it happened a while ago, Sarah Sinclair still felt a lingering fear. All these years, she kept wondering if she shouldn't have gone abroad, if she should have stayed by Grandma Wood's side. After Grandma Wood turned 80, I could clearly see her health declining. Like you said, I worry constantly, afraid that an accident might happen before tomorrow comes. Sarah Sinclair didn't beat around the bush. She laid it all out. "I want to marry you. I want to make Grandma Wood happy, give her fewer regrets. My grandfather's biggest regret when he passed was not seeing me settle down and get married. You've seen how genuinely Grandma Wood wants us together, how happy it makes her." Ethan Young saw it differently. If Grandma Wood knew you were forcing yourself in a marriage just to please her, do you think she'd truly be happy? There's more to life than getting married. Seeing you safe, healthy, and successful would make her just as happy. Hearing this, Sarah Sinclair stared directly at him. "And how do you know I'd be forcing myself?" Ethan Young's heart suddenly tightened. Sarah Sinclair continued, "Ethan Young, I'm serious about wanting to marry you. Rather than marrying just anyone, why not choose someone Grandma Wood approves of? Besides, in many ways, you meet my requirements for a partner. I'm quite satisfied. That's why I can meet any demands you have. I know a doctor in country who specializes in heart surgery. I can ask him to come here and operate on your sister. Also, I have more money and connections than you. My chances of finding a compatible heart are much higher than yours. Don't you want your sister to recover sooner?" He couldn't help but think of Serena Sinclair. Instead of answering, Ethan Young asked, "If I don't agree to marry you, could you still introduce me to that heart surgeon?" Sarah Sinclair's expression became unreadable. "Ethan Young, I'm a businesswoman. I can give you what you want. But what about you? Can you give me what I want? I've always believed that to gain something, you have to lose something else. For instance, I traded my time and energy for the success I have today. I earned it. No one helps another person for no reason, especially when they've known each other less than a day." If he agreed just like that, it might make her question his motives. After a moment of silence, Sarah Sinclair softened her tone. Don't feel too pressured about the marriage. You can think of it as a job. For now, I don't plan on announcing our marriage. Besides Grandma Wood, no one else will know, not even my parents. You can consider it a secret marriage. That should be acceptable to you, right? If that was the case, it wouldn't really impact Ethan Young's life much, but it would bring him huge benefits. Simply put, it was an incredible deal. Minimal effort for maximum reward. Take the conditions Sarah Sinclair had offered him earlier. A monthly income in the millions, an unlimited black card, and now, help finding treatment for his sister's heart condition. He couldn't even dream of such perks. All he had to do was be a husband in name only, keep Grandma Wood happy, and he wouldn't even need to share a bed. Who wouldn't envy such an easy ride? Anyone else probably would have agreed immediately, but Ethan Young had his reservations. After all, before this, he had been kept by her sister, Serena Sinclair, under a 5-year contract. Marrying someone who used to be your sister's kept man. Anyone would find that awkward. Ethan Young hadn't planned on hiding it from Sarah Sinclair. Even if he didn't say anything, she'd find out eventually. Better to bring it up himself than wait for trouble to find him. Ethan Young stated frankly, I've been kept before. He saw Sarah Sinclair's expression clearly falter. Ethan Young continued, by your sister, Serena Sinclair. It was a 5-year contract. Your sister kept me on a 5-year contract. For 5 years, I was her stand-in, and basically her servant too. Initially, she was just attracted to my looks. But once we were actually in the arrangement, she wasn't physically interested in me. Unlike most kept men, I didn't have to sleep with her. Still, it cost me dearly. It was mentally and physically draining. Serena Sinclair treated me like a toy she could take her anger out on. Everyone has secrets they'd rather keep hidden. Ethan Young chose to confess, not because he didn't care about his past, but because this situation now involved Zara Sinclair and Grandma Wood, and there were conflicting interests at play. If he stayed silent now, he wouldn't just hurt those close to him, he'd trap himself in an impossible situation. After a moment of silence, Zara Sinclair asked tentatively, did you like her? Ethan Young immediately shook his head. Who would develop feelings for an abusive boss? He said, your offer is very tempting, but I had to tell you about my situation. Given who you are, it should be easy enough for you to investigate and confirm everything. There's a saying about finding like. His past 5 years weren't exactly spotless. Ethan Young figured it was better for Zara Sinclair to investigate herself. People tend to believe what they find out on their own more than what they're told. Zara Sinclair silently met Ethan Young's gaze. He didn't flinch or look away, letting her study him. His eyes remained calm and steady, as if the man he'd just described, the one who'd been kept, was someone else entirely. You should think it over carefully. Now was Ethan Young saying it. Surely, he thought, no one could accept marrying someone who'd been kept by their own sister under a 5-year contract. Even though it was supposed to be a secret marriage hidden from the public. What if word got out? They were sisters, after all. Could they really keep it a secret forever? Zara Sinclair had just stepped into her role as CEO within the Sinclair family, securing a position of immense wealth and status. If something like this were exposed, it would be a massive scandal. Ethan Young expected Zara Sinclair to recoil, but instead, she took a step closer, smiled, and asked, and what if, after considering it, I still want to marry you? That threw Ethan Young completely off guard. He thought the chances of her still wanting to marry him were practically zero. Let's talk again once you've really thought about it, he said. Zara Sinclair lowered her gaze, appearing to think it over seriously. After a moment, she looked up, hesitating slightly before saying, okay, I will give it serious consideration. In reality, her mind was already made up, but she feared Ethan Young wouldn't believe her yet. He'd likely dismiss it as impulsiveness. Zara Sinclair asked, should we continue our date? Ethan Young replied, let's call it a day here. You should go back and be with Grandma Wood. Try to act normal. Don't let anything slip. Grandma Wood had just been diagnosed with a brain tumor. Zara couldn't possibly be in the mood for dating. Zara Sinclair sounded subdued. All right, I'll just say goodbye here then. Ethan Young nodded. Okay, call me if you need anything. I live close by. Zara nodded again. Standing at the entrance of Seabreeze General Hospital, she watched him walk away until his figure vanished from view. Ethan Young braced himself for the worst. He figured they likely wouldn't see each other again after today. When comparing a blind date you've known for a day to your own sister, the choice was obvious. He needed to pick up Emily Young from the hospital tomorrow. Ethan went to Whole Foods, bought some groceries, and put them away. Then he tidied up Emily Young's room. By the time he was done with everything, it was nearly 8 p.m. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Who could be visiting this late? Ethan thought. He didn't open it right away, instead checking the peephole to see who was outside. It was a man. It was none other than Serena Sinclair's assistant, Zachary Carter. A visit this late could only mean one thing. Serena had sent him. Ethan Young frowned, completely baffled. What on earth is Serena playing at now? Ethan wanted to ignore him, but Zachary Carter kept knocking persistently. Worried about bothering the neighbors, Ethan reluctantly opened the door. Zachary Carter's hand paused amid knock. Seeing Ethan open the door, he slowly lowered it and offered a practiced, fake smile. "Hello, Mr. Young. It's been a while." It was a stiff, formal greeting. Ethan hadn't dealt much with Zachary Carter during the contract, but he knew him as consistently recognized for excellence, incredibly diligent, and unconditionally obedient to Serena Sinclair's commands. Zachary Carter was essentially the sole witness to Ethan's secret arrangement with Serena from start to finish. He had even drafted the original contract and negotiated its terms with Ethan in Serena's place. During those 5 years, Zachary Carter had seen Ethan Young at his absolute lowest, completely broken. But seeing him now, looking relaxed, almost happy, that was a first. Leaving a bad situation really can change a person, Zachary thought. Ethan stepped aside. "Come in, sit down." Zachary nodded. "Thank you. Sorry for intruding." Once inside, Zachary quickly scanned the apartment. It was a decent size, and Ethan had made it look warm, clean, and tidy. Frankly, more comfortable than Serena Sinclair's penthouse. "Would you like some water?" Ethan asked. "No, thank you." Zachary waved a hand dismissively. "I'm just here to relay a message from Miss Sinclair. I won't stay long." "All right, what's the message?" Ethan asked. Zachary replied. "Miss Sinclair says you've made your point, and now it's time to come back. Don't ruin things for yourself. It's not worth it. If you're willing to return and be reasonable, your sister can stay in her hospital room. Miss Sinclair will continue covering the medical expenses, and she'll also sign Pineview Estates over to you." Ethan raised his eyebrows in surprise, blurting out, "A house? For me? Since when is she that generous? Where's this place?" "Pineview Estates," Zachary replied. "It's a good place to retire. High EQ translation, suitable for retirement. Low EQ translation, remote, cheap, stuck in the mountains with lousy transport." Ethan replied dryly, "I appreciate the generous offer, but she should save such a prime retirement spot for herself." Zachary Carter watched him silently for a moment, his expression unreadable, though there was a flicker of something like envy in his eyes. Zachary was a consummate professional, Serena's right-hand man. Her word was law to him. He did whatever she asked without question. He wouldn't dare refuse, even if he wanted to. Zachary said, "I can tell Miss Sinclair is genuinely reluctant to let you go. She wouldn't have sent me to try and talk you into coming back otherwise." "Isn't Lucas Taylor back?" Ethan asked. "He is," Zachary confirmed. "Then what the hell is wrong with her?" Ethan scoffed. "Why isn't she focused on the one she always wanted instead of bothering with a replacement like me? I thought we settled everything the day I left. Contract finished, relationship over. No renewals, no second chances. That was it." Serena was the one who'd kicked him out, but now she was framing his departure as some kind of emotional outburst. She resented him for blocking her, and resented even more that the man she treated like a trained dog had actually slipped his leash and escaped her control. Zachary Carter nodded, indicating he understood. He stood up. "Well, I've said what I came to say. I'll relay your words to Miss Sinclair exactly. Be careful for the next few days, Ethan. Miss Sinclair won't let this go easily." Ethan nodded, appreciating Zachary's well-meant warning. "Okay, thanks for the heads up. I'll watch out." But he knew it wasn't simply about being careful. Serena Sinclair was immensely proud. After Ethan had repeatedly rebuffed her, throwing her offers back in her face, was she really going to just let him walk away? Maybe it was out of sympathy, but as Zachary Carter walked out the door, he couldn't help but add a few worried words. "If it were just you, it wouldn't matter where you went. But you have a sister who needs financial support. Get on Serena Sinclair's bad side, and you'll have trouble finding work." Ethan Young chuckled softly, the implication clear. "I can judge the situation for myself, Zachary Carter. And please tell Serena Sinclair not to waste her time on me. I'm sick of being by her side, whether as her lapdog or her puppet. The original contract was for 5 years. I'm not breaking it by leaving now, and I expect her to honor her side of the deal." He refused to believe Serena Sinclair was powerful enough to control everything. Zachary Carter sighed. He had a feeling this wouldn't end so easily. "I'll probably be seeing you again." Serena Sinclair needed to keep Lucas Taylor happy, so she didn't have time to constantly keep tabs on Ethan Young herself. But she couldn't just let him go either, so she'd definitely send poor guys like Zachary to check in on Ethan Young. That's how it was for low-level workers, enduring endless frustration just to earn a meager wage. Zachary Carter hadn't even been there 5 minutes before he left. He came and went quickly, almost like he was just punching a clock. After Zachary Carter left, Ethan Young mopped the floor. He set out his sister Emily Young's favorite dolls and her favorite flowers around the house. Ethan Young didn't sleep well that night. He'd thought someone as proud as Serena Sinclair wouldn't stoop to contacting him. He was just a disposable toy to her. Yet now, she had not only called him, but also sent Zachary Carter to talk him around. What was this supposed to mean? Ethan Young didn't dare entertain thoughts of feelings developing over time. If there were any feelings involved, they would have surfaced sometime in the past 5 years, not suddenly appear now. Serena Sinclair didn't have any real feelings for him. His leaving simply disrupted her routine. To put it bluntly, she was just being contrary. Ethan Young got up at 6 in the morning. The congee he'd set to cook the night before was ready, steaming hot. A bowl of congee with some homemade pickles, and breakfast was done. After breakfast, Ethan Young went to Pinecrest Rehabilitation Center to transfer his sister to another hospital. Her things were mostly packed. When Ethan Young arrived at Pinecrest Rehabilitation Center, Emily Young was still eating breakfast. The VIP rooms provided daily nutritious meals, customized to each patient's condition, which was a definite plus. "Brother, why are you here so early? Did you eat breakfast?" "I already ate." "What did you have? Not just plain congee and pickles again, I hope." "A quick bite is fine for breakfast. The morning sets the tone for the whole day. If you don't eat a good breakfast, you won't feel right. Why don't you have some more?" "I have plenty left. I can't finish it all." Emily Young wanted her brother to eat better and build himself up. She remembered a time when Ethan Young had been frighteningly thin, practically skin and bones, with a deathly pale face. He looked more like a critical patient than she did. Ethan Young wasn't quite so gaunt now, but he was still clearly malnourished. Skipping breakfast often gave him low blood sugar, and his digestion wasn't great either. Ethan Young didn't want to eat more, but he couldn't refuse Emily Young's hopeful expression, so he ate 2 eggs. When the head nurse for the floor heard Ethan Young was discharging his sister today, she quickly summoned Dr. Johnson. "Mr. Young, we really don't advise this discharge. As you can see, your sister has been doing very well under our care. She hasn't had an episode in a long time. Transferring her abruptly might be too much for her physically, and she might not adapt well to a new treatment plan." Ethan Young found this odd. He'd already processed the discharge paperwork the day before yesterday, and no one had raised these concerns then. Why the complete turnaround after just 2 days? If he could, Ethan Young would certainly want the best treatment for Emily Young. But this place was Serena Sinclair's turf. He worried Serena Sinclair might take out her dissatisfaction with him on Emily Young. Emily Young might not be able to withstand what he could endure, and he couldn't risk it. Ethan Young smiled faintly. "I completed the discharge paperwork the day before yesterday. You don't need to tell me all this." They couldn't easily stop him, nor could they persuade him. The room full of nurses and doctors exchanged helpless glances. Anyone walking in might have thought there'd been a medical incident. Emily Young had spent more time at Pinecrest Rehabilitation Center than she had at home or school, so she had quite a bit of luggage. Ethan Young, experienced with moving, packed everything up quickly. He parked the car outside and, seeing all the bags piled up, planned to carry them down himself. Emily Young reached for a bag, but Ethan Young stopped her. Even though the hospital staff said Emily Young was fine and could move around freely, Ethan Young still saw his sister as fragile as a crystal doll, easily broken. He would never let her touch any heavy lifting. "Just wait in the car. I'll get everything in a couple of trips." Emily Young, hugging a doll nearly as tall as she was, nodded resignedly. On his last trip down, Ethan Young ran into Zara Sinclair. After their frank conversation yesterday, Ethan Young had thought they wouldn't meet again. He hadn't expected to see her again so soon. Zara Sinclair approached him, dressed again in a sharp black and white suit. She had already spotted him. Just as Ethan Young was debating whether to say hello, she walked right up to him. "Ethan Young." Ethan Young put down the box he was carrying. "What a coincidence." "Not a coincidence. I came here specifically to find you. Grandma would also stayed here, but she was in a different building. They wouldn't normally run into each other." "How did you know I was here? Didn't you ask me to investigate you yesterday? So put a tracker on you. I know your every move." Zara Sinclair winked, clearly joking. "That's a lot of stuff. Is your sister being discharged?" Zara Sinclair knew Ethan Young had a sister with a heart condition who had been staying here for the last few years. "Yeah, there weren't enough VIP rooms available, so I decided to move her to another hospital." If it weren't for the unpredictable factor of Serena Sinclair, Ethan Young really wouldn't have wanted to transfer Emily Young. It wasn't the hassle. He worried another hospital wouldn't be as good, that the care wouldn't be as meticulous. Although the medical costs here were high, you got what you paid for. The money was well spent. The doctors and equipment were top-notch. There are plenty of VIP rooms. I can arrange one for you. No, thank you. The paperwork is already done. Zara Sinclair wasn't stupid. It only took a moment's thought for her to figure out what Ethan Young was really thinking. Are you avoiding Serena Sinclair? Ethan Young hadn't expected her to be so direct. He nodded. I wouldn't normally need to, but she's been acting erratically lately. I don't care about myself, but I'm worried my sister might get hurt. She doesn't know about my history with Serena Sinclair. Hearing him say that about her own sister right to her face, Zara Sinclair didn't seem to mind at all. In fact, Ethan Young's words made her laugh. She hasn't been right in the head for a long time. These past few years must have been hard on you. The smile on Ethan Young's lips froze. In just one night, Zara Sinclair had investigated Ethan Young thoroughly. Ethan Young had wondered what Zara Sinclair might say when they met again, but he never expected her to say, "Must have been hard on you." Those words floated into Ethan Young's ears like feathers, but landed in his heart with the force of a hammer blow. A wave of complex emotions washed over him. Ethan Young had always been pragmatic about being kept. Compared to his sister Emily Young's health, what was a little dignity? Once you were being kept, you couldn't talk about personal independence. Over the years, to make things easier on himself, Ethan Young often numbed himself with the thought. Without Serena Sinclair, he wouldn't have what he had now. Although she had done many unreasonable things to him, she had also given him a lot. It was just a normal transaction. Once the contract ended, they would part ways peacefully and become strangers. The ending was just as he'd expected. Her true love returned, and the substitute left. Between him and Serena Sinclair, things ended calmly and rationally, without argument. He dragged his suitcase away without looking back. That's how it should have been. But for some reason, what was supposedly settled had a follow-up. Serena Sinclair suddenly started acting strangely, inquiring about him, even wanting him back. The term kept conjured up so many images: a sponsor and a lover, a plaything for amusement. Even if, in reality, things hadn't progressed that far between him and Serena Sinclair, others would assume the worst. Ethan Young had wondered what Zara Sinclair's expression would be when they met again. Would she look down on him with contempt? Or would treat him like some male model picked up casually at a club? Zara Sinclair's brilliance only highlighted his own inadequacy. He felt exposed and ashamed in her presence. Once she investigated him thoroughly, she wouldn't want to marry him anymore, right? That's what Ethan Young thought. But instead, Zara Sinclair said, "You've suffered these years. When the time comes, I'll help you get even." She dropped the joking expression from before. Her eyes and tone were completely serious now. Ethan Young didn't react for a moment. After a long pause, he lowered his head, suppressing the aching soreness in his heart. He desperately wanted to put down the suitcase and rub his chest, to knead away that strange feeling. Everyone thought he was lucky to be Serena Sinclair's dog, that he was punching above his weight. But only Zara Sinclair, after just one night, had seen the wounds he'd endured over the years. He didn't know how long Zara Sinclair had investigated, or how thoroughly, how many times she must have overturned assumptions and reconstructed the narrative, peeling away surface appearances to seek the truth. Between him and Serena Sinclair, Zara Sinclair had firmly chosen him. At this moment, nothing else seemed to matter. Ethan Young relaxed his brow and said softly, "Thank you, but there's no need. It was all a clear transaction, and she and I are in the past." Zara Sinclair stared at him intently for a moment. "I thought about it seriously all night. I still want to marry you." This time, Ethan Young didn't refuse. Instead, he said, "My education is poor. I didn't even take the college entrance exams. If you want to study, I'll be your tutor and help you review. My job isn't respectable. There's no shame in earning money. Besides, I think you have great acting skills. Even in short skits, Grandma Wood and I enjoy watching." Zara Sinclair didn't miss the chance to praise him. "What if, after we get married, my past with Serena Sinclair becomes known to your family? I will stand by your side without hesitation. You don't mind my past, but what about Grandma Wood? Grandma Wood and I both trust our judgment of people. We won't let gossip influence our decisions." Ethan Young noticed that Zara Sinclair wasn't wearing glasses today. Her eyes were like two lamps, bright and full of spirit, seeming to dispel the darkness, making one want to follow her. "What kind of secret marriage are you talking about? What I need to do? Just be yourself. But we need to live together, though not in the same bed. Occasionally, you'll need to act lovey-dovey with me in front of Grandma Wood to make her believe we're deeply in love." Zara Sinclair tilted her head at him. "It's simple, right? So their marriage was just temporary. He didn't need to overthink it. All he had to do was show up at the marriage registry office with his documents, take a photo, sign the papers, get the stamp. Zara Sinclair would handle the rest. This marriage was purely nominal. He would still be free and could walk away cleanly. Zara Sinclair offered him broad authority and numerous benefits. Not just money, but connections too. She wouldn't treat him inhumanely like Serena Sinclair had. Most importantly, there was hope for his sister's recovery. Ethan Young had assumed that once Zara Sinclair uncovered his past, she would avoid him without hesitation. Even if she didn't, she would at least weigh the pros and cons before approaching him again. After all, marrying someone like him inevitably brought trouble, and everyone hated trouble. I made up my mind. What about you? Ethan Young, what's your answer? Ethan Young clenched his fists. He had nothing left to lose anyway. He made his decision and met Zara Sinclair's eyes again. We can get married. But for both our sakes, let's draft a prenuptial agreement first. Get our premarital assets notarized. Ethan Young knew very well that his relationship with Zara Sinclair was less a marriage and more a partnership, and partnerships required clearly defined terms. Of course, Zara Sinclair smiled, reaching into her bag and pulling out 2 copies of an agreement, handing them to Ethan Young. I've already prepared these. Take a look and see if anything needs to be added. Surprise flickered across Ethan Young's face. He took the agreements and read through them carefully. It was quiet, only the sound of him turning the pages. The contract was more detailed than Ethan Young had imagined, covering things he hadn't even thought of. It not only specified the exact amount of money to be voluntarily paid to Ethan Young each month, but also emphasized that she would help hire leading heart specialists for his sister's treatment. Furthermore, the duration of the marriage was clearly stated, a 1-year term, after which Ethan Young had the complete right to decide whether to continue the contract. It could be said that the benefits Zara Sinclair offered Ethan Young were practically countless. In comparison, the duties and responsibilities Ethan Young needed to fulfill seemed minimal. After reading it, Ethan Young's complex feelings intensified. Don't you think you're getting a bad deal? Zara Sinclair could surely find any number of suitable marriage candidates, and there were countless men in the world more accomplished than him. I think it's worth it, Zara Sinclair stressed. Believe me, I'm a businesswoman. I never make losing deals. By the way, I've already contacted the professor specializing in cardiology. He'll fly to Maplewood next month to create a treatment plan for your sister. I'm also looking for a heart donor. As soon as there's suitable news, I'll tell you immediately. I believe it won't be long before your sister recovers. Miss Sinclair, thank you so much. Ethan Young's voice became more sincere, filled with undisguised gratitude. Does the contract need any additions? No, it's very detailed. It was just that Zara Sinclair was offering so much it made him feel rather overwhelmed and apprehensive. Zara Sinclair handed him a pen. Since you think it's fine, then sign it. Do you have time later? Let's go to the registry office and get the license. I checked the calendar. Today is a good day to get married. Ethan Young took the pen Zara Sinclair handed him. I don't have time right now. He gestured towards a suitcase on the ground. I need to take my sister, Emily Young, home, and then get her checked into a new hospital. If you're in a hurry, can we do this tomorrow? This is the best hospital in Maplewood, Zara said. It has the most advanced medical equipment and technology. Doctors from Y country come here when they visit, so I really wouldn't recommend transferring her. Ethan Young agreed with her, but what about Serena Sinclair? Zara Sinclair reassured him. I'll have someone arrange a new room for her. It'll be even better than the last one, much more private. No one will be able to find out she's here, not even Serena Sinclair. There will also be security guards to protect her sister, so she can recover peacefully without any disturbances. Although the Sinclair family had invested heavily and held shares in this hospital, it didn't mean they could just do whatever they wanted here. Hearing it from Zara Sinclair, though, somehow felt reassuringly convincing. Ethan Young agreed without hesitation. Transferring hospitals was a hassle anyway, and other places wouldn't be as good as this one. Emily Young might not adjust well elsewhere. If he could give Emily the best, Ethan Young wouldn't choose anything else. Okay, thank you for the trouble. It's no trouble. Zara Sinclair's tone softened. Since we don't need to transfer her, can you come with me to get our marriage license later? Zara Sinclair seemed very anxious. Ethan Young wanted to tell her he wouldn't run off now that he had the contract, but meeting her eager eyes, he complied. Okay, wait for me here. I need to take my sister upstairs first. Ethan Young signed the documents on top of the suitcase, checked that everything was signed, and handed them back to Zara Sinclair. The agreement was in duplicate. He kept one copy. They stood on a path outside Seabreeze General Hospital, surrounded by passersby. There was no quiet room for private discussion, no tea or coffee to ease the tension, not even a hint of formality. Yet in this seemingly ordinary setting, they both signed the marriage agreement. Ethan Young went back to the car, helped Emily Young out, and told her they weren't transferring hospitals anymore. Why not? Bro, can you afford for me to stay here? I feel like I'm almost better anyway. Maybe I don't need more treatment. Even if I do, we could just go to a regular hospital. A change of scenery might be nice. The bills here are so high, it feels like they charge so much for nothing. It's just wasting money. Don't worry about the money, Ethan said. I have enough not only for your treatment, but also to buy you a house. I recently made a new friend who helped sort out the hospital situation. She also knows a cardiologist from abroad who can come to Maplewood next month to see you. Ethan Young didn't mention marrying Zara Sinclair. It was too sudden, and he worried Emily wouldn't be able to accept it right away. He planned to break the news gradually. Back inside the hospital, they were personally greeted by the hospital director this time, who had someone escort them to the new room. The room was twice the size of her previous one, with more amenities. If the last place felt like a room at the Lux Hotel, this one was like a small apartment. Everything inside, from the medical equipment to the furniture and decor, was brand new. Even the smell of disinfectant in the air seemed fresh and pleasant. Emily Young had started to step inside, but stopped short, retreating behind Ethan Young. She peeked out cautiously. Bro, are we in the wrong place? This doesn't look like somewhere I can afford. Ethan Young had expected an upgrade, but not to this extent. The world of the wealthy was truly beyond his imagination. He never would have guessed a place like this could be a hospital room. Ethan Young patted her hand reassuringly. Don't worry, the staff member leading them asked. Mr. Young, are you satisfied with the room? Would you like to see another? No need to change. This is great. All right then, Miss Young will be staying here. We have professional nutritionists to plan her meals and attendance for her daily activities. If she needs anything, she can press the call button. Nurses are available 24/7. A doctor will be here shortly to give Miss Young a brief checkup. The procedures were the same as before. No need for further explanation. Ethan Young led Emily inside, listening to the introduction while looking around. What do you think? Emily whispered. It's amazing, of course, but what about the cost? The staff member replied. You don't need to worry about the medical expenses. The charge is the same as a standard room, and it's reimbursable. Emily Young blinked in disbelief. Such a nice room, but the cost was the same as a regular one? Had she heard correctly? Only Ethan Young knew this must have been arranged by Zara Sinclair beforehand. His gratitude towards her deepened. He owed her more and more. He wasn't sure how he'd ever repay her, but he'd figure it out eventually. Okay, let's get her settled in then. Ethan Young made the decision. The paperwork was processed quickly, right there in the room. No need to go downstairs to register. After signing and adding his thumbprint, the staff member took the documents away. The thought of staying in such a luxurious room felt like a dream to Emily Young. She rubbed her eyes in disbelief, but tried not to show it too much while the staff were still there, afraid of embarrassing herself. As soon as they left, she grabbed Ethan Young's hand anxiously. Bro, you didn't sell yourself or anything, did you? Please don't do something desperate for my sake. I don't have to stay here, and I don't absolutely have to get this treatment. Ethan Young was taken aback for a moment, then gently patted her head. You're always letting your imagination run wild. Emily Young looked aggrieved. I'm just worried you'd go down the wrong path for me. As long as you didn't. Of course I didn't. Marrying Zara Sinclair wasn't going down the wrong path at all. Compared to his past, this was a bright, wide-open road. Emily Young was a bit curious and couldn't help asking. So, this friend you met, is it a man or a woman? A woman. Emily Young gave him a meaningful look. Bro, is something romantic going on? Why would a friend help you this much? She guessed someone must have feelings for her brother. It made sense. He'd always been popular. But she didn't want him to compromise or sacrifice his own happiness for her sake. Thinking this, Emily couldn't help but look worried. Ethan Young ruffled her hair. Don't worry. I'll manage my own life, and you should focus on yours. Next time, I'll introduce you to my friend. I'm sure you'll like her. Emily Young muttered. As long as she's better than Serena Sinclair. Ethan Young said softly. Yeah, she's definitely better than her. Once Ethan Young had Emily settled, he went downstairs to call Zara Sinclair. Emily had originally wanted Ethan to stay for lunch, but when she heard he had other things to attend to later, she quickly hid her reluctance. You should go take care of things then, she said, forcing a smile. I'll be fine on my own. I have plenty of people here with me. Because of her illness, her brother already spent most of his energy on her, so she didn't dare take up any more of his precious time. Ethan added the security guards and caregivers' contact information, telling them to contact him immediately if anything came up. The facilities here were much better than the previous place, so he wasn't worried about Emily's safety. After leaving the hospital room, Ethan called Zara Sinclair, and they met at the entrance of Seabreeze General Hospital. How's the room? Is she settling in okay? Do we need to change it? The environment is great. When I went in, I could hardly believe it was a hospital room. My sister should be able to get used to it. Anyway, thank you so much for this. Don't mention it. We're helping each other out. You've helped me a lot, too. Compared to everything Zara had done, just getting married and registering felt like he was getting the better end of the deal. Ethan said sincerely, if there's anything I can do in the future, just let me know. Zara winked and smiled. Then I won't hesitate. They were both efficient people. The Civil Affairs Bureau was near Ethan's place, so he could easily go back and get his household registration booklet. After retrieving it, they went straight to the bureau, moving so quickly they barely registered the scenery passing by. Ethan presented his documents, and they got a number and went right in without waiting in line. Zara took off her coat. It was as if she knew they'd be getting married today. She not only had her household registration booklet with her, but was also wearing a white blouse underneath and had light makeup on. Ethan sat up straight, watching Zara fix her hair. She suddenly turned, leaned closer, and asked him, "Is my hair messy? There's no mirror. Can you fix it for me?" Ethan looked over. He couldn't tell if her hair was messy or not. His own mind was a bit of a mess right now. He raised his hand and tucked a stray strand of hair from her forehead behind her ear. After looking her over briefly, he quickly looked away. "There. Don't be so far away. Scoot closer. Yes, just like that. Smile. Hold still. 3, 2, 1. Click." The moment was captured. They completed the marriage process quickly, in less than 20 minutes. Ethan received the marriage certificates from the staff member and handed one to Zara. Zara opened hers immediately. In the photo, she and Ethan were close together, looking like a well-matched couple. Zara put her ID and the marriage certificate together and asked, "When are you moving in?" Ethan looked dazed, the marriage certificate in his hand, feeling surreal. Getting married so quickly. It felt like a dream. "If you don't want to move, I can move into your place," Zara offered. Ethan snapped back to reality. "Moving is a hassle. It's better if I move in with you. I don't have much stuff. Where do you live?" Zara gave him an address. It was quite close to where he used to live. He wondered if he might run into Serena Sinclair unexpectedly. Ethan thought about his schedule. "How about Wednesday? Are you free then?" "I'm not sure." Zara opened her bag and handed him a key. "My house key. You trust me with your house key, just like that?" Zara's lips curved into a wide smile, her expression perfectly composed. "You're my husband now. What's not to trust?" She'd said husband so easily. Ethan's heart gave a sudden lurch, but he maintained a calm facade as he took the key from her. Zara added, "I won't force you to call me wife yet, but you'll have to practice later. Get used to it, so Grandma doesn't suspect anything." Ethan nodded in understanding. Zara had given him money and helped find doctors. The least he could do was keep Grandma happy. Once they lived together, he'd take care of the housework as a way of repaying her. "I'll talk to Grandma Wood," Zara said. "Let's just get used to our new roles for the next few days." She turned to Ethan and held out her hand. "Husband, let's look out for each other." Ethan reached out and gave her hand a light shake. "Let's do that." Zara glanced at the time and said to Ethan, "I have to get back to the office. If anything needs adjustment at the hospital, let me know. Message me if anything comes up." "Okay, go ahead. We'll be in touch if anything comes up." Ethan stood on the sidewalk, watching Zara drive away. Only after she was gone did he open the marriage certificate again and look at their photo together. Ethan drove home, arriving just before 11. When he was alone, Ethan didn't like complicated meals. A simple bowl of noodles or some steamed rice was usually enough. He opened a fridge and looked at the ingredients inside. He wouldn't need to buy groceries for the next 3 days. This would last him until Wednesday. Ethan took 2 eggs out of the fridge, planning to make a Denver omelet. He cracked the eggs into a bowl and started whisking them when his phone rang. Whisking with one hand, he picked up the phone with the other and saw the caller was Zachary Carter. He had blocked almost everyone associated with Serena Sinclair, but not Zachary Carter, remembering that Zachary had helped him in the past. He owed him one. He answered the call. Zachary asked, "Ethan, Miss Sinclair drank a lot yesterday and is complaining of a stomachache today. Where did you keep those medicines you used to buy?" "In the study, 3rd shelf of the bookcase by the door. All the medicine is in a box there. If that's all, I need to go." "Wait, don't hang up." Zachary sounded urgent, then asked somewhat cautiously, "Ethan, Miss Sinclair is really uncomfortable right now, and she keeps mentioning your name. After 5 years together under that contract, aren't you going to come see her? She really wants one of your Denver omelets right now." Ethan looked down at the whisked eggs in the bowl and felt a wave of annoyance. He put down the chopsticks he was using. If you call just to tell me this stuff, I might have to block you after all. Don't be so heartless. I was just saying, let's talk about something else then. I'm free right now anyway. Ethan had known Zachary for years. When had he ever been this idle? Although Ethan found it strange, he didn't dwell on it. He didn't hang up, but put the phone on speaker and set it aside. I'm not really clear on Miss Sinclair's allergies, Zachary continued. Since you left, she hasn't been taking care of herself, getting sick all the time. Her stomach hurt a few days ago, and now she has a cold. Do you have a list of her medications? Could you send it to me when you have a moment? To avoid having Zachary bother him about this again, Ethan agreed. I'll email it to you later. Thanks, I appreciate it. Zachary's tone shifted. So, what have you been up to lately? Ethan replied casually, been busy dating, getting married. A loud crash echoed through the phone, like something shattering. Zachary swallowed hard, forcing himself to look at Serena Sinclair's dark expression. What was that noise? Ethan Young asked over the phone. I was just so surprised. I accidentally dropped a glass. Zachary Carter looked at Serena Sinclair's grim face, then at the shattered glass and spilled water on the floor. Zachary Carter let out an awkward laugh. You're kidding, right? You and Miss Sinclair just split up. How could you possibly be married? If you don't believe me, fine. Who would believe that? Zachary couldn't read Ethan Young's emotions over the phone and didn't know what to say. He met Serena Sinclair's gaze, his face stiffening. Ethan Young, are you really not planning on coming back? Miss Sinclair's offer is pretty good. Even if you're not thinking about yourself, think about your sister. With just a high school diploma, what kind of job can you find without Miss Sinclair? Waiting tables? Washing dishes? How many plates would you have to wash to cover your sister's medical bills? What if a suitable heart becomes available right when you can't afford it? Zachary Carter urged earnestly. You really need to think about the future. I heard Seabreeze General Hospital won't even let your sister keep her room anymore. Without a steady income or savings, you probably won't even be able to afford a hospital stay. You know, this is the best hospital in the city. If she leaves here, her chances of recovery are even lower. Ethan Young, we've known each other for years. I wouldn't steer you wrong. I'm just giving you the most practical advice based on your current situation. Miss Sinclair has been treating you better and better lately. When she told you to leave, she was just testing you. She didn't really mean it. How about this? I'll book a restaurant. You two can have dinner together, clear up the misunderstanding, then you can go back to how things were. Feeling the pressure, Zachary Carter said a lot, but Ethan Young didn't respond. After waiting a moment, sensing something was wrong, he lowered the phone and saw the call had been disconnected. Zachary Carter looked blankly at Serena Sinclair, his mind racing. Miss Sinclair, Ethan Young just left you. How could he get married so quickly? That's ridiculous, isn't it? Besides, I was just at his place yesterday. It was empty, didn't look like anyone with a girlfriend lived there. Serena Sinclair sat on the sofa, head down, her trembling fingertips betraying her emotions. Zachary Carter didn't know what to do, so he crouched down and started cleaning up the broken glass. Just as he was using paper towels to wipe up the spilled water, Serena Sinclair suddenly asked, Then why won't he come back? Were my terms not good enough? Or have I not treated him well all these years? Thinking about his year-end bonus, Zachary Carter lied through his teeth. Of course, you treated him well. Just look at the hospital you arranged for his sister. Most people couldn't afford that. Since being with you, Ethan Young didn't have to punch a clock, lived in this amazing house every day. So many people envied him. Once he's had enough hardship out there, he'll come back. Sophia Sullivan had told her the same thing, and she had thought so too. But what was the result? Ethan Young had blocked her. After cleaning up the glass shards, Zachary Carter stood up and went to the study to look for medicine. Not everything he'd said on the phone was a lie to Ethan Young. For instance, Serena Sinclair really had been sick lately. Stomach problems plus a cold and fever. Serena Sinclair, pale and listless, sat on the sofa. Zachary Carter brought out the entire medicine box. Opening it, he saw it was packed with various medicines, neatly organized by Ethan Young. He himself could never be this meticulous. He found the medicine, poured a glass of hot water, and placed it in front of Serena Sinclair. Miss Sinclair, take your medicine first. Serena Sinclair often suffered from colds and stomach aches. The medicines Ethan Young prepared for her could all be taken together. Serena Sinclair saw the familiar medicine boxes, remembering how Ethan Young used to coax her into taking her medicine. When she was sick and had no appetite, Ethan Young would rack his brain to make her something delicious. Steaming sweet soups, sweet and sour preserved fruits, appetizing cold dishes, perfectly sweet cakes. Serena Sinclair picked up the medicine, tossed it into her mouth, and gulped it down with a large mouthful of water. All right, you can go back now. I don't need you here. Okay, Miss Sinclair, get some rest. Call me if you need anything. Zachary Carter couldn't wait to leave. He quickly tidied up the trash in the room and left. Only Serena Sinclair remained in the vast room, so quiet she could hear her own heartbeat. Serena Sinclair collapsed onto the sofa, staring at the ceiling. She hadn't exactly treated Ethan Young well before, but she spent money for her own enjoyment. If it didn't make her happy, why spend it? Since Ethan Young had signed a contract selling himself to her, whatever she did to him was perfectly reasonable. So all these years, she didn't feel she had done anything wrong. Lucas Taylor knew she was sick and sent her a text asking, "How are you? Feeling any better? Have you taken your medicine?" Serena Sinclair replied, "Already took it." Lucas Taylor, "If you're still not better after taking the medicine, go to the hospital." Serena Sinclair, "I know." Lucas Taylor, "Do you need me to come take care of you?" Serena Sinclair, "No need. I just took my medicine and want to sleep." For some reason, she didn't want to see Lucas Taylor right now. After replying to the text, Serena Sinclair opened a food delivery app and ordered a Denver omelet from a nearby place. Delivery would take half an hour. Serena Sinclair looked around the house. In the 8 days Ethan Young had been gone, a layer of dust had settled. The trash can was full. The houseplants had withered from lack of water, and the cherries in the fridge had rotted. She threw them out, plate and all. With Ethan Young gone, many things felt like a hangnail. Not painful, just irritating, making you want to pick at it until your hands were raw, inflamed, and festering. The medicine started to take effect, making Serena Sinclair drowsy on the sofa. After half an hour, she heard the doorbell, stumbled to her feet, opened the door, and took the delivery from the driver. The delivery was fast, but the noodles were still soggy and clumped together. The bland noodles tasted like wax. They weren't good at all. There were only a few pieces of egg, not fragrant, with a slightly fishy smell, and they even included cilantro, which she hated most. Serena Sinclair took one bite and spat it out. This wasn't a Denver omelet at all, or rather, it wasn't the kind Ethan Young used to make. The Denver omelet Ethan Young made was simple, ready in 10 minutes, and incredibly delicious. Every year, a day or two before her birthday, she would ask Ethan Young to make her a bowl of noodles. Serena Sinclair threw the noodles away. Suddenly, she wanted to see Ethan Young. Ethan Young hung up on Zachary Carter. The water in the pot was already boiling, and he tossed in a handful of noodles. While the noodles cooked, he found an allergy list on his phone and emailed it to Zachary Carter. After receiving it, Zachary replied, "Thanks, man. Don't take what I said earlier to heart." Reading the text, Ethan Young instantly understood that Serena Sinclair had probably been right next to Zachary Carter during the call. If Serena Sinclair had been there at the time, it would make sense why Zachary Carter said things that were completely out of character for him. Of course, Ethan Young didn't let it bother him. Sometimes you had to swallow your pride to earn a living, especially under humiliating circumstances. He understood. After finishing his noodles and washing the bowl, Ethan Young turned on his computer to work. During the 5-year contract, while juggling acting, being a stand-in, and taking care of Serena Sinclair, he secretly pursued a side hustle, writing novels. He had to carve out writing time whenever possible, managing to complete only 2 books in those 5 years. He lucked out, selling various rights to his novels. The combined royalties and licensing fees amounted to tens of millions. He then invested the earnings in the stock market. While he hadn't hit the small goal typical of the super-rich, the money he had was more than enough for him and Emily Young to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. Serena Sinclair had always thought Ethan Young was a good-for-nothing who couldn't possibly leave her. But in truth, this good-for-nothing had been preparing his escape ever since signing the stand-in agreement. Away from Serena Sinclair, Ethan Young tasted freedom and began living authentically. He wasn't struggling, quite the opposite, he was thriving. 5 years ago today, he'd signed the stand-in agreement, essentially selling himself to Serena Sinclair for 5 years. As it happened, today marked the exact 5-year anniversary. Who could have predicted that exactly 5 years later, he'd be marrying Serena Sinclair's sister, Zara Sinclair? Ethan Young planned to become a film producer. Though he hadn't been in many films as an actor, he'd gotten to know quite a few directors. Now, with money and good scripts in hand, he wasn't worried about his future productions finding an audience. Ethan Young printed out the script and arranged to meet with 2 directors he'd recently contacted. He planned to get them together for afternoon tea and dinner to finalize the details of their potential collaboration. It was an American-style coffee shop with a modern, minimalist decor. The private booth was secluded and quiet, filled with the faint aroma of coffee. Ethan Young arrived first and took a seat. He had made the invitation under his pen name, Ling Che. The 2 directors, one named He and the other Liu, were both infamous in the industry for directing box office bombs. Director, he had a knack for visual storytelling, but struggled with pacing and couldn't quite craft a compelling narrative. Director Liu, on the other hand, could handle plot well, but his visual style was rather unpolished. Ethan Young brought them together, hoping their skills would complement each other. Plus, both had experience with short web dramas, which meant lower production costs and open schedules. They arrived simultaneously and were stunned upon seeing Ethan Young, initially thinking they must be in the wrong room. Ethan Young stood up, a warm, unassuming smile on his handsome face. Director Liu, he said, "Please let me introduce myself. I'm Ling Che, but I'm also Ethan Young." Neither director had expected their host to be Ethan Young. He had acted in their projects before, low-budget dramas with subpar production crews. He'd played supporting roles, but his acting was so brilliant it made you forget the deliberately unattractive way he was styled for the parts. Every director who'd worked with him admired his talent. For actors, talent often outweighs sheer effort. Ethan Young possessed not only talent, but also an incredible work ethic. Combined with his striking looks, it seemed like he was destined for success, practically hand-fed by fate. Now, he also held the title of a massively popular author. Was there any door fate hadn't opened for him? Perhaps it was the luck window. Ethan Young had been acting for 5 years, taking roles in numerous productions. With a better team, he would have undoubtedly hit it big long ago. That's why both directors looked at him with a touch of pity. Ethan Young got up to pour coffee. Director Liu, please have a seat. I heard you both have some availability in your schedules recently. As it happens, I have a film project I'm looking to get off the ground, and I was wondering if you might be interested in collaborating. This brought them back to the present. Ethan Young had already texted them about the project, mentioning a script he wanted their teams to film, backed by $20 million in funding. At first, they'd assumed it was for a web series. They were floored to realize he was talking about an actual feature film. But the mention of a $20 million investment was incredibly enticing. Despite their reputations as directors of flops, they were eager for an opportunity to prove themselves. Ling Che was a hugely famous author in the online fiction world. The moment they received his invitation to discuss a film project, they hadn't hesitated to come. The two directors sat side by side, rubbing their hands together expectantly. Director Liu picked up his coffee cup first. "To coffee," he said. "Ethan, we go way back, having worked together before. Here's to you. I truly had no idea you were also a novelist on top of being an actor. I'm actually a big fan. I bought copies of both your books for my collection." Director, he chimed in immediately. "Me too. I followed the online serialization religiously back when they were coming out. I'm a longtime fan. It would be a real honor to work with you on a movie." After showering him with praise for a bit, they ventured cautiously. "So, Ethan, what genre of film are you planning to make?" Ethan Young set down his coffee cup and replied earnestly, "A comedy. That's our specialty." Director, he brightened instantly. "Most of the web series I've directed lately have been light comedies." Director Liu added, "With comedies, if the script is good, you're guaranteed an audience. Even if it doesn't smash the box office, it'll get plenty of online views. Our team is excellent at budget control. We can even hire some review bloggers and social media influencers to generate buzz, lure the audience in. We guarantee it won't lose money." Comedies have topped the film charts in recent years, but success is usually dominated by the same handful of famous comedic actors. It's tough for anyone else to break in. Just like Director Liu said, the real challenge for comedies is finding a good script. Look at many high-profile comedies in recent years. The writing is often awkward or boring. Even with big stars, they get slammed with bad reviews and fail to attract audiences. Ethan Young hadn't even shown them the script yet, but the two directors were already mentally bracing themselves for another flop. Ethan Young didn't seem fazed. He calmly took out the printed pages of the script and handed them over. "Here's the script. Why don't you read it before making up your minds?" The directors took the scripts, intending only to give them a quick skim. But 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. Neither had stopped reading. The only sounds in the room were the rustle of pages and sharp, suppressed bursts of laughter. By the time they finished reading, both Director and Director Liu were flushed with excitement, clearly wanting more. They kept rereading sections, chuckling. The movie's plot was straightforward. Titled Coward, it blended suspense and comedy, a very popular mix right now. It wouldn't require large, expensive sets, making the $20 million budget more than sufficient. If they avoided casting overpriced A-list celebrities known more for their follower counts than acting chops, the funds would stretch even further. "This script is fantastic, Ethan," Director, he exclaimed. "Is it your original work?" "Yes, it is," Ethan confirmed. Their image of Ethan Young was still stuck in the past. The sick sister, Emily Young, the deceased parents, the dreary home, and a seemingly broken young man. Who could have imagined that this same person, whom they remembered as struggling, could now casually invest $20 million in a film? Ethan, director Lou suggested, I strongly recommend you play the male lead. You're a talented actor, and since you wrote it, you'll understand the character better than anyone. As for the female lead, do you have anyone in mind? An image flashed through Ethan Young's mind. Yes, he replied. Who is it? Alice Taylor. Alice Taylor, the Taylor family heiress and Lucas Taylor's younger sister. Neither director, he nor director Lou, expected Ethan Young to mention Alice Taylor. Alice Taylor, I know her. Director, he said worriedly. Her acting is pretty good for a young actress, quite suitable for the female lead. But with our current team, can we even get her? After a moment of thought, director Lou spoke up. Whether we can get her or not, let's try first. Alice Taylor is the Taylor family heiress. If she takes a liking to the project, maybe our production will get more funding. Alice Taylor chose projects based solely on the script. The director, team, and production crew weren't her primary considerations. Ethan Young had Alice Taylor in mind even before writing the script, considering her the first choice. He analyzed her roles from the past 2 years to understand her preferences and tailored this script specifically for her persona. Ethan Young decided to take a gamble. If Alice Taylor couldn't do it, they'd figure something else out. But if she could, it would solve many potential problems down the line. For instance, Serena Sinclair. Making the movie wasn't the hard part. Distribution and release were. Any review issues during the process could send it back to square one. With Alice Taylor involved, Serena Sinclair would at least have to tone it down a bit. After all, Alice was Lucas Taylor's sister. Ethan Young had considered all the uncertainties. Better safe than sorry, as Zachary Carter had reminded him. Being cautious was always a good idea. Both directors recognized Ethan Young's capabilities. Learning he had previously invested in other film and TV projects, they asked curiously. They discovered Ethan Young had a hand in several popular web series in recent years. Investing is risky, but Ethan Young was a quick learner and dared to gamble. Coupled with his keen intuition in this area, he could analyze various data points to make the right choices. This instinct was innate. Others couldn't simply learn it. Ethan Young had spent 5 years under contract to Serena Sinclair, carefully disguising himself. She probably never dreamed that the Ethan Young she treated like a pet dog possessed such capabilities. The three of them talked from afternoon into the evening, discussing not only script details, but also work arrangements and future promotional strategies. They aim to finish filming by the end of the year and release it for Valentine's Day next February. After finalizing the details, the three signed the contracts on the spot, marking the initial formation of the film crew. Directors he and Lou were confident about this film project. Both had been in the industry for years. As the saying goes, 3 heads are better than 1, and with their connections, they could quickly assemble a reliable production team. With a $20 million budget, casting Ethan Young as the male lead already saved a significant expense. Now it depended on Alice Taylor. As a relatively new rising star, Alice Taylor's fee wouldn't be exorbitant. For the remaining supporting roles, Ethan Young already had people in mind. He knew many actors were talented yet affordable. The money saved would be redirected towards the film's quality, such as special effects and post-production promotion. Ethan Young wrote down the list of names for the directors to arrange auditions. They talked until 11 at night, only leaving when the restaurant was preparing to close. Ethan Young took a cab back, arriving home nearly morning. As soon as he stepped out of the elevator, he saw someone sitting by his door. Late at night, a woman with disheveled hair, wearing a red coat, sitting by his door. The sight was genuinely startling. Fortunately, Ethan Young wasn't superstitious and considered himself a staunch materialist. Someone more timid might have fainted from fright. After freezing for a few seconds, Ethan Young recognized her. It was Serena Sinclair. Serena Sinclair, who had been sitting on the floor looking at her phone, looked up at the sound of the elevator doors opening. She stood up, her face cold, questioning him just like she used to. Where have you been so late? Do you know I've called you over a dozen times these past few days? She figured Ethan Young might have blocked her and didn't know about all the calls. By mentioning it now, even if Ethan Young was sulking, he should take the olive branch she was offering. Serena Sinclair still hadn't recovered from her illness. Her face was pale, her voice hoarse. She had waited from 8 p.m. until now, nearly morning. Her calls wouldn't go through, and even Zachary Carter couldn't reach him. She always hated waiting for people. When she was with Ethan Young, he was always the one waiting for her, no matter the occasion. But tonight, uncharacteristically, she had suppressed her anger and waited for 4 hours, driven by a single thought. She wouldn't leave until Ethan Young came back. Ethan Young didn't answer, just frowned. Only one thought came to his mind. Asterisk, utterly inescapable. Asterisk. He truly hadn't expected that the incredibly proud Serena Sinclair would actually come looking for him one day. Serena Sinclair's face tightened, and she suddenly snapped, "I'm asking you a question. What's it to you?" Serena Sinclair froze, her eyes suddenly stinging. "What did you say?" Ethan Young let out a soft chuckle. "Miss Sinclair," he reminded her, "if I recall correctly, the 5-year contract has expired, hasn't it?" "It has expired." Serena Sinclair took a deep breath, stating boldly, "I'm not used to you being gone. I want you to come back to my side, to renew the contract. Just because you're not used to it, I have to come back." Ethan Young studied the woman before him, someone he knew so intimately. Why wouldn't he? Serena thought. Asterisk, she had taken the initiative to come find him. What more could he want? Asterisk. Letting you leave that day was impulsive on my part, Serena continued. I think we should talk properly. I've kept all your things in your room. If you're willing to come back, you can even sell them if you want. I'll buy you new ones. Asterisk, seriously. Does she not understand plain language? What is she muttering about? Asterisk, Ethan thought. Miss Sinclair, he said calmly and seriously, I don't need any of the things you prepared. You should give them to someone else. Serena Sinclair suddenly grew angry. Ethan Young, don't act rashly out of spite. You can't make it without me. Your sister still needs treatment. How long will the money you have last? Don't forget, you still have mortgage payments on this apartment, and you don't have a proper job. Stay with me, and at least you can maintain your glamorous lifestyle. Ethan Young suddenly asked, Does Lucas Taylor know you came to find me? Serena Sinclair seemed to have an epiphany, a look of realization dawning on her face. Are you jealous of Lucas Taylor? Ethan Young had wanted to end this relationship peacefully. He had envisioned that once the 5-year contract expired, it would automatically conclude. They would go their separate ways, she could appease her white moonlight, and he would start his new life with no further contact between them. But he never imagined Serena Sinclair would actually show up at his door trying to get him back. She even thought his leaving was due to jealousy over Lucas Taylor. Ethan Young looked at Serena Sinclair as if she were crazy. Serena Sinclair stared back at him. What kind of look is that? Serena Sinclair, I didn't leave you because of any feelings or jealousy. It was simply because the contract expired, and I don't want to renew it. I don't want to continue this. I have no lingering feelings for you whatsoever. Is that clear enough? Nothing. Serena Sinclair's eyes, already bloodshot from her illness, grew even redder. Ethan Young, what are you talking about? I thought you liked me. Ethan Young chuckled and shook his head. Who could possibly like a sadist? Someone who treats people like dogs? Being with you under this 5-year contract has been torture every single day. Now, finally, I don't have to put up with you anymore. Since she didn't understand subtlety, he had no choice but to use clear, blunt words to draw a definitive line between them. He figured any smart woman with an ounce of self-respect would leave immediately after hearing that. But Serena Sinclair didn't. The confusion in her eyes hadn't cleared. All these years, you were just tolerating me? She truly had no self-awareness. A malicious smile spread across Ethan Young's face. More than tolerance. Disgust. The words hit her like a slap in the face. For a moment, the air around them seemed to freeze. The hallway lights flickered intermittently. Ethan Young stood with his back to the light source, his handsome face cast in deep shadow, looking incredibly grim. Serena Sinclair felt a fireball raging inside her. She never held back when angry, always lashing out. She raised her hand to slap Ethan Young's face. But Ethan Young, who had always let her hit him before, caught her wrist this time. Ethan Young let go. Far from letting go, Ethan Young tightened his grip. Serena Sinclair gasped, a muffled sound escaping her nose. She stared at Ethan Young in shock, suddenly noticing how tall he actually was. What? Taking advantage of his height? Ethan Young looked down at her condescendingly. Running all the way here begging me to come back. Can't you live without me? Serena Sinclair felt dizzy, her ears ringing. It was November, and the temperature had dropped, especially here in the hallway at night. The cold air seemed to seep into her very bones. Weren't puppies supposed to wait patiently for their masters? Why was Ethan Young biting back? Shouldn't he be the one who couldn't leave her? She stared disbelievingly at the man before her. After 5 years together under the contract, she thought she knew Ethan Young completely. He was always obedient, docile, letting her hit and curse him, never getting angry no matter how horribly she treated him, just quietly enduring it. But now, it was as if he had a different soul, each word out of his mouth uglier than the last. Sometimes I don't express myself well, but seeing you tonight. Frankly, you're just bad news. He actually called her bad news? Proud and arrogant Serena had never been humiliated like this before, especially not by someone she looked down upon the most. When Ethan Young said that, it meant they could never coexist peacefully again. Serena Sinclair, eyes red, screamed uncontrollably, "Ethan Young, what right do you have to despise me? If it weren't for me all these years, your sister would be dead, and you want me to beg you to come back? Who do you think you are? You're just a dog I kept. I only kept you around because you're still useful. For treating me like this today, I'll make you pay. You'll regret this." If shouting could solve problems, donkeys would rule the world. Serena Sinclair tried to lash out again, but Ethan Young used her momentum to push her away. She stumbled backward from the force and fell to the ground, glaring venomously as Ethan Young opened his door and went inside. Just as the door was closing, she heard him say, "I'll be waiting." Bang! The heavy door slammed shut in her face. Serena Sinclair, furious and unable to vent her anger, scrambled unsteadily to her feet. She kicked the door hard several times, tears of rage streaming down her face. Meanwhile, Ethan Young stood calmly behind the door, pulled out his phone, and called security. "There's someone causing a disturbance here. Could you please come and remove them?" Hearing Ethan Young on the phone, Serena Sinclair froze. Her face flushed red, then went pale, and she bit her lip so hard it nearly bled. How would he treat her like this? There was nothing Serena Sinclair could do. She roughly wiped the tears from her face, turned, and stumbled away. "Sir, can you tell us which building and floor? No need to come anymore. She's left." Ethan Young hung up and put his phone down. Inside, he poured himself a glass of hot water and stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, looking down. After a few minutes, he saw Serena Sinclair's figure below. A mocking look flashed in Ethan Young's eyes. Serena Sinclair knew better than anyone why he had signed that unfair agreement in the first place. The sudden pressure from Starlight Talent Agency and Serena Sinclair's perfectly timed appearance. She claimed she could help him resolve his company disputes, but 5 years under contract later, he was still burdened with exorbitant contract termination fees. If he hadn't found some evidence over the years to protect himself, he likely would have fallen into the same trap again. It just goes to show, what seems like a gift from fate often comes with a hidden price tag already attached. He could only blame himself for being too stupid, kept in the dark for so long without realizing it. Ethan drank the water and poured out the rest. His relationship with Serena Sinclair was like that discarded water, spilled and impossible to take back. Maybe hardship could be seen as a stepping stone on the path to success. And since it's just a stepping stone, you step on it, toss it aside, and don't look back. Hardship isn't worth celebrating, but the courage to face it is. After leaving the complex, Serena Sinclair realized she had nowhere to go. The cold night wind whipped in her collar. No matter how tightly she clutched it, she couldn't stop the chill. She crouched on the ground, a headache making her whole body feel weak. Her vision blurred. She rubbed her eyes, and the back of her hand came away wet. Was she crying? What was there to cry about? If she was crying, it was out of anger, definitely not nostalgia or regret. Having reached this conclusion, a fierce look entered Serena Sinclair's bloodshot eyes. She called Sophia Sullivan. Sophia picked up immediately. She was a night owl and liked staying up late. She wouldn't be asleep at this hour. "Vivi? What's up?" "Serena Sinclair, what are you doing?" Sophia's voice was concerned. "I'm home. What's wrong with your voice? It sounds so hoarse. Do you have a cold?" "A little," Serena Sinclair sniffled. "I want to come over to your place." "Sure, come on over. Where are you now?" Serena Sinclair gave her the address. It wasn't far from Sophia's place, about a 30-minute taxi ride, especially since it was early morning with no traffic. Sophia, "Okay, head over then. I'll wait for you. If you have trouble getting a cab, I can come pick you up." Serena Sinclair murmured and hung up, opened a ride-sharing app, added a tip, and quickly got a driver. Right now, Serena Sinclair had only one thought. She wanted to drink, get drunk, and sleep it off. The driver arrived quickly. Serena Sinclair got in the car. The warmth inside made her drowsy. She pressed her temples, watching the passing scenery. As they drove past Seabreeze General Hospital, she thought of Ethan Young's sister. Back then, Ethan Young had humbled himself before her for his sister's sake, willing to do anything. How could he show absolutely no reaction now when her illness was mentioned? It was completely abnormal. Could it be he planned to give up on her treatment? Sophia Sullivan knew something was wrong the moment Serena Sinclair called. When Serena Sinclair arrived, Sophia saw she was pale, practically radiating cold, her eyes red and swollen. Sophia also immediately noticed the red mark circling her wrist. What happened? Sophia Sullivan pulled Serena inside, gripping her icy hand to get a closer look. How did you get this mark? Did someone hurt you? Serena Sinclair glanced down, finally noticing the imprint on her wrist. It was from Ethan Young's grip. The depth of the mark hinted at the force he must have used. I want to see Ethan Young, Serena admitted. Sophia Sullivan's eyes widened. She knew Serena wouldn't adjust well after leaving Ethan Young, but she never imagined she'd actually go back to him. Go to such lengths. Anyone could see Serena still had feelings for Ethan Young. So Ethan Young did this to you? Serena didn't answer, which was confirmation enough. I need a drink, Serena said, eyeing Sophia Sullivan's liquor cabinet. You're still sick. You can't drink now. It's late, just go to sleep. But I can't sleep, Serena said, her voice raspy. My head hurts. Every time she closed her eyes, Ethan Young's words came flooding back. Asterisk. It wasn't just endurance. It was disgust. Asterisk. Sophia Sullivan led Serena into the bedroom. The white light overhead seemed to wash all remaining color from Serena's face. Sophia Sullivan took her freezing hand. Since you can't sleep, let's talk. Tell me what happened tonight. She still couldn't wrap her head around it. Someone like Ethan Young actually hurting Serena physically. Did you go see Ethan hoping he'd come back? Planning to keep him on the side again? Sophia Sullivan asked. Yeah. And what did he say? He refused. Everyone has pride, Ethan Young included. Who could tolerate being treated like that? Like a pet when Serena was happy, a punching bag when she wasn't. Sophia Sullivan had even warned her, treat Ethan Young better, leave yourself some options, but Serena wouldn't listen. And now, she was probably regretting it. Sophia Sullivan was curious. What exactly did he say to you? She asked, wondering what could leave Serena so completely shattered. Serena's eyes looked distant. He said he'd had enough of me all these years. That it wasn't just putting up with me, it was disgust. How could he say something like that? Sophia Sullivan was floored. The quiet ones really were the scariest when they finally exploded. Serena didn't tell Sophia Sullivan everything that had happened that night, mainly because it felt too humiliating. Sophia Sullivan suddenly remembered. What about his sister? Emily Young still needs money for her treatment, doesn't she? How is he going to afford those huge medical bills? How can he risk offending you like this? Isn't he worried he won't be able to find another job? Serena scoffed. Forget scraping together medical fees. I bet he's already conveniently forgotten his sister needs a heart transplant. She didn't know everything about Ethan Young's situation, but she knew the important parts. Ethan Young's sister, Emily Young, had a congenital heart defect. Over the last 5 years, she'd undergone countless surgeries, large and small. Only a heart transplant offered a chance at a full recovery. The only reason Ethan Young had agreed to be her stand-in was to get the money for Emily Young's medical care. She had used Ethan Young's devotion to Emily Young to keep him tightly controlled. It had worked perfectly for years, never failing. But now, mentioning Emily Young got no reaction from him. Worse, he'd transferred Emily Young to another hospital. Was he actually giving up on her treatment? If Ethan Young had really decided to stop treatment, what leverage did she have left? During Ethan Young's second year as her stand-in, a suitable heart had become available, a potential match for Emily Young. But out of pure selfishness, Serena had hidden the news. If Emily Young got well, Ethan Young might break free, escaping her control. Only with Emily Young constantly sick would Ethan Young be unable to leave her side. Even if she drove him away, he wouldn't dare stray far. He'd be forced to slave away for money, always running back to her, always at her beck and call. If Ethan Young was the dog, his sister was the leash keeping him tied to her. Now the leash was broken, and the dog had run off. But not before biting her on its way out. Thinking about it made Serena's chest tighten with fury. She didn't sleep a wink. On Wednesday, Ethan Young started moving. He didn't have much stuff, not even enough to warrant movers. He tossed 2 suitcases into his car and texted Zara Sinclair that he was on his way. Zara Sinclair waited for him at her place. She calculated the drive. Ethan left at 10, so he should arrive around 11. Call me when you get to the parking lot. I'll come down and meet you, she had texted. Ethan Young glanced at the 2 suitcases in his car. He really didn't need her to come down, so Ethan didn't call. He simply grabbed a suitcase in each hand and went up in the elevator. He pulled up the text, double-checking the address Zara Sinclair had sent. Standing at the door, certain he hadn't made a mistake, he rang the bell. The door was apparently well soundproofed. Standing outside, he couldn't hear a thing. Finally, the handle turned, and the door opened inward, revealing a radiant, fair-skinned face. Zara Sinclair wore her hair in a bun and was dressed in a long green dress, holding a bouquet of gardenias. When she saw it was Ethan Young, her face lit up with an indescribably vibrant smile. Ethan Young, Why didn't you call ahead? I didn't have much. Zara Sinclair, still beaming, invited Ethan Young in. Didn't I give you a key? It's my first time visiting. Ethan trailed off, thinking it wouldn't have been polite to just barge in with a key on his first visit. I'll add your fingerprint later, Zara said. Then you won't need a key to get in. Zara Sinclair placed the gardenias into a vase. The apartment had been cleaned top to bottom yesterday, and the flowers, freshly delivered today, filled the air with a delicate fragrance. She retrieved a pair of men's slippers from the shoe cabinet and placed them at Ethan Young's feet. Thanks. Ethan Young swapped his shoes for the slippers. They were a perfect fit. Zara Sinclair reached for the suitcase he was holding, but Ethan quickly stopped her. I've got it. It's heavy. That's exactly why I should help, Zara countered, quickly grabbing the other suitcase before Ethan could react. Zara Sinclair led the way. Come on, I'll show you to your room. Zara Sinclair had put Ethan Young in the room next to hers. It was large, with an en-suite bathroom, and seemed to have everything he could possibly need. Is this okay? Ethan glanced around quickly, not really absorbing the details, and immediately responded, It's fine. What would you like for lunch? I can ask Mrs. Ward to prepare something. Only then did Ethan realize there was someone else living there. I can cook, he offered. What would you like? Zara Sinclair was already doing so much for him. The thought of contributing nothing made him uneasy. He was a good cook and figured that while he lived with Zara Sinclair, he could at least handle the cooking and chores. Ethan Young, Zara said, I brought you here to be my husband, not my servant. I asked you here to be my husband, not my housekeeper. Zara Sinclair stood with her hands on her hips, her face stern. Mrs. Ward can handle the chores. You have your own work to do. Since it's your first day, just sit down and relax. With that, Zara Sinclair guided Ethan Young over to the sofa and gently pushed him down to sit. Ethan Young was wearing a sweatshirt today, making him look like a college student. Her hand pressed against his lower back, feeling his body heat through the thin layer of clothing. She stole a glance at his back, thinking, I really want to feel it myself, see if he's really as solid and dependable as Grandma would claimed. Ethan Young was an actor, and actors carefully control their diet and physique to look good on camera. Someone who looks perfect on screen is often quite thin in person. Zara Sinclair wanted to cook something hearty for him, help him put on a little weight. What kind of food do you like? I can ask Mrs. Ward to make it. She's an excellent cook. Oh, I'm easy. Any simple home cooking is fine. Ethan Young felt a bit restless doing nothing. Seeing his slight discomfort, Zara Sinclair sat down beside him. Want to try some of my cooking? Ethan Young looked surprised. You cook? A faint smile touched Zara's lips as she replied in a gentle, unhurried tone. Probably not as well as you, but it's definitely edible. Care to try? Okay, then I can help you prep. As Ethan Young moved to stand up, Zara, still beside him, placed a hand on his shoulder. It wasn't forceful, but firmly kept him seated. Kneeling with one leg on the sofa cushion beside him, she leaned in slightly, her tone gently assertive. Mrs. Ward is already prepping in the kitchen. If you really want to help me, I'll call you when I need you. The distance between them closed abruptly, and Ethan Young could catch the faint, pleasant fragrance Zara wore. For a moment, it felt like a tidal wave had crashed inside him, but he kept perfectly still, betraying nothing. Why don't I show you around first? Zara lowered her leg and stood before Ethan. He readily agreed. He needed something to do. Just sitting there felt uncomfortable. Zara led Ethan to an open-air balcony. The house overlooked a central courtyard, offering a prime view of the grounds below. The balcony was spacious, furnished with a trellis along one wall, a rocking chair, and a small table. He could easily picture Zara relaxing or working out here. On the otherwise bare, large trellis sat a single small pot of gardenias. Tiny, unopened buds nestled among the green leaves. Ethan reached out to gently touch a leaf. The faint gardenia scent reminded him strongly of Zara's perfume. Do you like gardenias? Zara walked over to stand beside him, her gaze fixed on the pot. Although she was asking about the flower, Ethan's mind immediately strayed elsewhere. He quickly shook off the distracting thought and answered earnestly, Yes, I do. They smell amazing. Me too, Zara said. I actually wanted to fill this whole balcony trellis with them, but I could never keep them alive. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Ethan looked at the lone gardenia, quietly filing her words away in his mind. The house decor featured primarily warm colors, creating a cozy atmosphere. Zara showed Ethan around, familiarizing him with each space: the balcony, the laundry room, the work studios, the study. It was a large house with plenty of rooms. There were 2 separate studios, as well as dedicated areas for watching movies and gaming. You can use this as your office space from now on. It's already set up with a computer. Let me know if there's anything else you need, and I'll have it arranged. Serena Sinclair's place had also been large, but the only space designated as Ethan's had been a tiny, cramped bedroom. Correction, even that probably hadn't truly been his, since Serena felt free to burst in any time she wanted. As a result, during his 5 years with Serena, Ethan had rarely gotten a peaceful night's sleep. Serena kept erratic hours, sleeping and waking entirely on whim. Ethan, however, couldn't afford that luxury. He frequently worked late into the night or pulled all-nighters, only to have to get up early the next morning to make breakfast before heading to his own job. Serena often made things difficult for him at breakfast, too. On a whim, she'd demand he make lobster rolls, or send him across town to buy a specific jianbing guozi from the east side or a pork floss chingtuan from the west side. She had a particular fondness for trendy, viral food spots, forcing Ethan to queue for hours, sometimes in the biting wind, other times under the blazing sun. And when he finally returned with the coveted item, she often wouldn't even eat it, tossing it after a single taste. Eventually, Ethan learned to work smarter. He started using food delivery apps, paying extra for the drivers to handle the errand. The drivers earned their fee, and Ethan saved precious time to rest or focus on his own work. A win-win. Serena remained completely oblivious, continuing to derive pleasure from ordering him around. She called it his obedience training. Adjacent to the studio was the study, a large room lined with bookshelves holding a diverse collection. The moment Ethan stepped inside, his eyes were drawn to 2 thick volumes he recognized instantly. They were the 2 novels he had written, signed, limited editions. Zara had preserved them carefully inside a prominent glass display case, centrally located and impossible to miss upon entering. Noticing Ethan staring intently at the 2 books, Zara asked, "Oh, are you a fan of this author too?" "A fan." Zara opened the glass cabinet door, carefully took out 1 volume, and pointed to the author's name on the cover. "Ling Che," she explained. "He's become my favorite online novelist over the last few years. His stories are fascinating. I actually managed to grab these signed copies when I was living abroad. If you're interested, I highly recommend starting with this one, Cicada. It was his debut novel, and it tells the story of..." It was clear Zara genuinely adored the novel. She practically lit up as she began recounting the plot. "You know, I was so surprised when I first heard her name. And speaking of names, you share something else with this author." Zara flipped open the cover and pointed to the character Cha within the signature. "See this character, Cha? Doesn't the way he writes it look remarkably similar to how you write it?" She watched him closely, her eyes searching his face. "Does it? Must be a coincidence." Faced with Zara's pointed look, Ethan wasn't ready to reveal his secret. It wasn't for any deep reason, simply that some of the descriptions in his novels felt awkward now. Zara closed the book thoughtfully. Quite the coincidence indeed. Not just the name similarity, but the handwriting too. Ethan rubbed his nose, unsure whether Zara actually believed him, but relieved that she didn't push it. He suddenly marveled at the strange workings of fate. How 2 people, seemingly destined never to cross paths, could end up meeting and connecting in such a way. She loved the novels he'd written, and it was precisely because she admired Ling Che that hearing the name Ethan Young had prompted her to agree to meet him. Zara carefully placed the book back in its spot on the shelf. "So," she asked, turning back to him, "do you like it here?" Just having a place to stay was enough. Ethan wasn't usually picky about where he lived, but this was the first time anyone had asked if he actually liked his accommodations, let alone gone to the trouble of setting aside an entire room as his personal studio. Beyond that, the bedroom decor matched his preferences, and even the house slippers fit perfectly. Ethan answered, his voice filled with genuine feeling. "Yes, I really like it." He liked it. He was happy. He'd thought about how things might go before coming, but he hadn't expected so many pleasant surprises. Zara Sinclair respected him and was very considerate. Even though theirs was an arranged marriage, no one besides his family had ever treated him with such care. It would be a lie to say he wasn't moved. The only room they hadn't toured was Zara Sinclair's bedroom. Zara Sinclair tentatively asked, "Do you want to see my bedroom?" Ethan Young quickly shook his head. "No, thank you." A bedroom was a private space, not somewhere just anyone could enter. One needed a bit of self-awareness. But Zara Sinclair didn't seem to mind. "If you want to see it, you can go in any time." He didn't particularly want to. Mrs. Ward had already prepped the ingredients. Zara Sinclair took an apron off a hook and handed it to Ethan Young. "Didn't you say you wanted to help out? You can start by tying this apron for me." Zara Sinclair stood at the counter with her back to him. Tying an apron for someone of the opposite sex felt rather intimate. Ethan Young took the apron and tied it for her. From behind, It looked almost as if he were holding her in his arms. Zara Sinclair had her hair up in a bun, revealing the pale skin of her neck up to her ears. Ethan Young looked away, focusing all his attention on the apron strings at her waist. Tying an apron didn't take long. The knot was done in seconds. But Ethan Young couldn't keep his mind solely on the task. His attention was drawn elsewhere. Zara Sinclair's waist was so slender, it felt like he could span it with his 2 hands. Done. Ethan Young lowered his hands. Zara Sinclair reached back to feel the knot. I'm going to start cooking now. Maybe you should step out? The fumes can be strong. Ethan Young turned on the range hood. I'll stay and watch. I can help wash dishes and serve. All right, you can give me some pointers too. Zara Sinclair expertly heated oil in the wok. Mrs. Ward had prepared ingredients for 4 dishes. Shredded potatoes, scrambled eggs with tomato, shredded pork with green peppers, and a vegetable and tofu soup. All simple, home-style dishes. It was clear from Zara Sinclair's movements that she cooked often, but even experienced cooks were wary of splattering oil. It was the kind of moment Ethan Young would normally step in to help, shielding her from the hot oil. Ethan Young was also responsible for handing her plates and carrying the finished dishes out. The shredded potatoes were ready first. The soup in the pot was ready too, just needing a sprinkle of chopped scallions. Ethan Young asked, should I add scallions to the soup? No. Zara Sinclair glanced back at him. I remember you don't like scallions. Ethan Young paused, surprised she'd noticed such a small detail. They had only eaten together once. Yet Zara Sinclair clearly remembered how Ethan Young carefully avoided the scallions when picking up food. The 3 dishes and soup were ready, looking and smelling wonderful in terms of presentation, color, and aroma. Thinking about the 2 Sinclair sisters, Serena Sinclair, during their 5-year contract, had only known how to order people around. She couldn't do anything practical, utterly pampered, wouldn't even pick up a broom if it fell over right in front of her. Both were Sinclairs, so why was the difference between them so vast? The portions for each dish were modest, preventing waste. Ethan Young started by ladling a bowl of soup. Meeting Zara Sinclair's expectant gaze, he praised, "This is delicious. The seasoning is perfect, and the tofu is really tender." He sampled every dish, praising each one in turn. The shredded potatoes are nice and crisp, just how I like them. The pork is tender, and the tomato and egg dish smells amazing with rice. He certainly made sure to offer plenty of positive feedback. By the end of the meal, not much was left on the table. Ethan Young said, "I've had a taste of your cooking now. Let me make dinner tonight, so you can try mine." Zara Sinclair, sitting across from him, put down her chopsticks. "I'd love that." Perhaps because he was in a good mood, Ethan Young ate more than usual and felt noticeably full. After the meal, Mrs. Ward cleared the table to wash the dishes. Just then, Ethan Young received a call from director He. "Ethan Young, I've finalized the supporting cast on my end. We're just waiting on Alice Taylor. Director Lou has contacted her, and they're discussing the script now. As long as she reads the script, we should be good." Ethan Young smiled, then added, "Oh, by the way, if she asks who the male lead is, don't tell her it's me just yet." "Why not?" Director He asked. "Just a hunch," Ethan Young explained. "I'm not exactly famous, and my reputation in the industry isn't the best. So, he decided it was best to lure Alice Taylor in first. They wouldn't give her the full script, of course." Director Lou excelled at drawing out negotiations. Ethan Young had a feeling Alice Taylor would sign the contract soon. Sure enough, that evening, Director Lou reported good news. He had secured Alice Taylor. With all the actors under contract, they just needed to pick an auspicious date for the production commencement ceremony and celebratory meal. It was such a good script that the 2 directors wanted to start immediately. They decided on the spot to hold the ribbon-cutting ceremony the next morning at 9. The timing and conditions felt right. All that was left was to gather the people. Ethan Young cooked dinner. He had asked Mrs. Ward beforehand about Zara Sinclair's likes, dislikes, and any dietary restrictions. Her tastes leaned towards milder flavors, similar to Serena Sinclair's. She preferred Southern cuisine over things like spicy barbecue. Yet, on the day they first met, she had gone along with him to eat spicy barbecue. Despite how spicy it was, she hadn't shown any discomfort and had even repeatedly praised how good the food was. Why would she go to such lengths? That evening, Ethan Young simmered a pot of soup and prepared some seafood. While he cooked, Zara Sinclair watched from the side, looking serious as if she were studying his technique. In reality, Zara Sinclair's gaze rarely lingered on the food. Most of the time, she was watching Ethan Young himself. Her eyes traced his physique. A quick glance was enough to guess his clothing and pant sizes. It had to be said, Ethan Young had the kind of build that looked good in anything. He'd probably even look good wearing just an apron. "I'm really looking forward to it." Zara Sinclair murmured subconsciously, letting her inner thoughts slip out. Looking forward to what? The wok sizzled as Ethan Young expertly tossed the ingredients. Flames shot up around the edges, the orange light illuminating his face, making his features appear even more striking and handsome. To dinner tonight, of course, Zara Sinclair said, leaning her hands on the counter and tilting her head to look at him. Shall we have a drink tonight? We could have a little. Then I'll go decant some wine. Zara Sinclair selected one of the most expensive bottles. By the time Zara Sinclair returned to the kitchen, Ethan Young had finished cooking. Compared to the simple lunch she had made, his dishes looked like a state banquet. Such fine food deserved to be served on beautiful plates. Having just returned to the country, Zara Sinclair had stored the extra, nicer dinnerware away in the upper cabinets. Good food and good wine deserved a bit of ceremony. She naturally moved behind Ethan Young and reached up, placing one hand on the upper cabinet door and the other lightly on his head as she stretched to reach inside. She could have just asked Ethan Young to get the plates, but she insisted on doing it herself. Not being as tall as him, she had to stretch, making it look from behind as though she were almost hanging on to him. Careful, I'm just getting the plates, she said. Ethan Young, a grown man, found himself effectively pinned between her and the counter. Is this appropriate? He thought. Asterisk no, this is definitely not appropriate. Asterisk. The kitchen smelled of cooking fumes and delicious food, but the most prominent scent was undoubtedly Zara Sinclair's perfume. Let me get it, Ethan Young offered, raising his hands. As their bodies brushed against each other unintentionally, he couldn't help but notice the softness pressing against his back. Oh, Sarah said, slightly surprised. Excuse me, I bumped into you. It's nothing, Ethan smiled, taking a plate down from the cupboard. Were you going for this one? Yeah, that's it. Sarah took the plate and started rinsing it. As she washed it, she said, accidental contact is fine, of course. It's the people with ulterior motives you need to watch out for. You know how tricky people can be, always using excuses to push boundaries. Ethan paused for a moment, until Sarah finished rinsing the plate and handed it to him. Okay, he said. Understand. I'll be careful. Sarah asked, does that mean you'll be careful around me? Ethan shook his head, his gaze sincere. No. Why not? You're very kind. You mean I'm kind to you? But I haven't really done anything special, Sarah said, looking at him with a teasing smile. How is that not kind? Ethan admitted to himself that he sometimes tended to magnify any kindness shown to him, but what Sarah had done needed no exaggeration. The $1 million monthly allowance alone was proof enough. Sarah suddenly asked, curious, so if I was always kind to you, kinder and kinder each day, would you fall in love with me? Ethan's mind reeled. He brushed the back of his hand against the hot pot, and then hastily took the plate to dish out the food. Usually skilled in the kitchen, Ethan suddenly fumbled, even forgetting to turn off the heat onto the simmering sauce. Though inwardly chaotic, his face remained calm, his eyes seeming even deeper than usual. Seeing him trying to act composed, Sarah chuckled softly. I was just teasing. What are you so nervous about? The stove light flickered on his face, highlighting the redness creeping up his ears. Cute, Sarah thought. Asterisk, I want to touch them. Asterisk. Sarah genuinely liked Ethan. Otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to this whirlwind marriage. Because she liked him, she decorated the house to his taste, cooked for him herself, and placed gardenias in every corner, hoping the sight of them would make him think of her. Her desire to be with him stemmed not only from Grandma Wood's wish, but also from love at first sight. Ethan finished cooking and brought the dishes to the table. The wine was ready too. He'd even plated the food beautifully, making it look as good as dishes from a fancy restaurant. Sarah asked, did you study cooking before? Ethan nodded. Yes. Although Sarah wasn't much of a cook herself, she recognized skill when she saw it. She'd eaten in enough five-star restaurants and watched enough live cooking demonstrations. Ethan's technique clearly stemmed from years of practice, not something acquired overnight. Though Serena Sinclair's name hadn't come up, Sarah suspected Ethan's cooking skills were connected to her. Although they were sisters, Sarah and Serena Sinclair weren't close. The distance extended to her parents too. Raised by her grandparents from a young age, Sarah rarely saw her immediate family more than a couple of times a year, making genuine affection difficult to cultivate. Serena, especially, seemed naturally antagonistic, as if fearing Sarah would steal their parents' love. As far as Sarah was concerned, the only thing she'd ever wanted from the Sinclair family was their money. Now, she wanted something else too, Ethan. How's Grandma Wood doing lately? Ethan asked. About the same, Sarah replied. Have you been busy? What? I was hoping we could find time to officially tell Grandma Wood about us. How about tomorrow at lunch? I'm busy in the morning, Sarah suggested. She didn't ask what he was busy with, instead raising her wine glass. To our first day, living together. Ethan lifted his glass and touched it lightly to hers. Mindful of work the next day, they didn't overindulge, leaving them both slightly tipsy. The living room featured a large floor-to-ceiling window with a stunning view of the city lights below. Lounging in a rocking chair, Sarah gestured towards it. This glass is great for privacy, isn't it? You can see out perfectly, but no one can see in. Means you can do whatever you want, and nobody outside would know. Kind of intriguing, right? Ethan wasn't sure what she was getting at, figuring she was just talking because of the wine. Best just to nod and agree when someone's had a bit to drink, he thought. Ethan had expected to feel out of place on his first day there, but it had gone by much faster than he'd anticipated. Back in his room after washing up, he began unpacking. When he opened the closet, he was stunned to see rows of brand new clothes, tags still attached. He checked the labels. They were all his size. He knew Sarah must have done some research on him, but he hadn't realized she'd be this thorough, down to his exact clothing sizes. She probably knew everything about the 5-year contract situation with Serena Sinclair. That was fine, he supposed. Better than starting a marriage based on ambiguities. Ethan left the new clothes untouched. He had brought enough of his own to last a few days and put them in a separate space in the closet. Just as he finished getting ready for bed, there was a knock at his door. Ethan padded to the door in his slippers and opened it. Sarah stood there, clearly having just washed up herself, wearing a silk robe, her damp hair loose around her shoulders. She held out a small packet of medicine. "It's for the wine," she said. "Take one, so you don't have a headache tomorrow. Wouldn't want it to affect work." "Thanks." Ethan kept his eyes lowered as he quickly took the packet from her. His fingertips brushed against her warm, soft palm. Sarah withdrew her hand slightly. "Well, good night." "Good night. Sweet dreams." Ethan looked up, meeting her eyes. He noticed how clear and bright they were, how fresh and pretty her face looked without makeup. He could catch the light, pleasant fragrance that seemed to cling to her. "Sweet dreams," she replied. The door closed. Ethan looked down at the medicine in his hand, an involuntary smile forming. As he went to draw the curtains, he glanced out at the moon and suddenly remembered an old saying, "Asterisk, the moon is beautiful, but it cannot warm you. Only a nearby bonfire can do that." Asterisk Sarah, he thought, was like the moon, but perhaps also like the bonfire. Ethan slept soundly and woke early the next morning feeling refreshed. He was used to getting up early. It was still dark outside when he emerged from his room, and the apartment was silent. Ethan made some congee and prepared some pot stickers, putting them in the steamer. While they cooked, he changed the water in the flower vases around the apartment. Just as he finished, Sarah emerged from her room. "Up already? Did you sleep okay?" Sarah asked. "Slept great. I'm always up early," Ethan replied. "I made some pot stickers." "Wow." Sarah exaggerated her surprise. "Breakfast ready the moment I get up? I'm so lucky." Ethan had done this sort of thing every day during the 5 years with Serena Sinclair. It had become routine. Serena, however, had never appreciated it or acted like it was anything special. She'd only ever criticized, complaining that his cooking wasn't up to par. Sarah asked with genuine concern. "Any headache?" Ethan shook his head. "No, I'm fine." "Good. You should go get ready," Ethan said. "It'll be a few more minutes before the food's done." "Okay," Sarah replied. "I'll go get changed." Sarah washed her face and brushed her teeth, but didn't change or fix her hair immediately. Being naturally beautiful, she didn't need much time on her appearance. 10 minutes was usually sufficient. By the time she emerged again, the pot stickers were ready. Ethan carried them to the table while Sarah served the congee. Despite having spent so little time together, they moved with an easy coordination, less like newlyweds and more like a couple who'd been together for years. After breakfast, Zara Sinclair gathered the dishes and took them to the kitchen to wash. "You should get going to work," she said. "You cooked, so I'll do the dishes. We need to share the chores. I can't let you do everything. I'd feel guilty otherwise, and it would bother me all day." She believed a fair division of chores helped strengthen their relationship. "But," Ethan Young started to say, but Zara Sinclair gave him a gentle nudge. "No buts," she said softly. "It's getting late. You need to get going. I'm working from home today. I'll wait for you. And at lunchtime, we can go pick up Grandma Wood from Seabreeze General Hospital together." His words cut off again. Ethan Young could only nod. "All right, I'm heading to work." Tying on her apron, Zara Sinclair stood at the kitchen door and watched him leave. "Drive safe," she called out. Ethan Young left the house at 8 and arrived at the Lux Hotel by 8:40. The staff had already finished setting up the venue, ready for the 9 o'clock ribbon-cutting ceremony. Besides the ribbon-cutting ceremony, there were also screen tests, costume fittings for all the lead actors, and a table read to get a feel for the script. Ethan Young turned out to be the last one there. All the other actors had already arrived and were waiting for him, the male lead. Alice Taylor was sitting in a corner, absorbed in her script, marking it up with a pen, completely unfazed by the surrounding chatter, until her assistant beside her prompted, "Alice, the ceremony is about to start. Okay, just let me finish this page." Alice Taylor made one last mark, closed the script, and tucked it into her bag. "Is everyone here yet? What about the male lead? Had he arrived?" Alice Taylor was most curious about who had been cast as the leading man. The script resonated deeply with her. The later parts had even moved her to tears. She still felt a lingering heaviness from it, unable to quite shake the feeling, and rubbed her tired eyes. It was well known that Alice Taylor chose roles based solely on the script. Because of this, she'd ended up in more than a few questionable productions. Take this current project, for example. Both directors had notorious reputations in the industry for helming flops. Alice Taylor knew perfectly well the crew wasn't exactly top tier, but the script was so good she couldn't resist taking the role. Her only hope now was that the two directors could somehow complement each other, leverage their strengths, and manage to bring the script to life faithfully. Director Liu had repeatedly assured her that he would be overseeing the story and absolutely wouldn't alter the script. Only then had she reluctantly signed the contract. By now, she knew the core team and had met the other actors. The only person she hadn't met was the actor cast as the male lead. The director had kept his identity tightly under wraps, revealing nothing, only telling her, "The actor playing the male lead is tall, fair-skinned, and handsome, a great actor, and fits the character perfectly. You'll definitely be pleasantly surprised when you meet him." Based on that description alone, Alice Taylor had mentally run through a list of top male actors, even considering all the A-listers. But on second thought, could a production this strapped for cash really afford any of them? Alice Taylor wasn't asking for much else. As long as he could act, that would be enough. "Please, just don't let him ruin her male lead character." Her assistant said, "I think he's here. I saw both directors go out. Even the directors went out personally to greet him. He must be someone important." Alice Taylor's interest piqued. She tossed her bag to her assistant. Stepping outside, she immediately spotted the person walking in, just as the director had described, tall and fair-skinned, noticeable even from distance. The morning light seemed to spotlight him, highlighting his sharp features, upright posture, and remarkably long legs. He had to be at least 6'2". Even from his profile and back, you could tell he was handsome. He looked vaguely familiar, too, as if she'd seen him somewhere before. Just as Alice Taylor was trying to place him, the man turned around. He stood out in the crowd as he slowly walked towards her. When Alice Taylor saw the man's face, her eyes widened in shock. How could it be him? How could it be Ethan Young? Alice Taylor stared, wondering if she was mistaken. Ethan Young. Ever since Serena Sinclair had told her he was a total scumbag, Alice had blocked him and actively disliked him. Ethan Young had been the first person she'd ever been instantly attracted to. His face was strikingly handsome, incredibly distinctive. Even wearing a mask, he drew attention. But what good was being handsome? He was scum, utterly unprofessional, someone who supposedly slept his way into roles. How could someone like him land a leading role? Maybe he'd come to the wrong place? Or perhaps he wasn't the lead actor at all, just an assistant, and the real star was someone else. It was a nice thought, but reality was harsh. Director Liu brought Ethan Young over to Alice Taylor and introduced him cheerfully. "Alice, this is our male lead, Ethan Young. You might not have seen his previous work, but let me tell you, he's a seasoned actor. His skills are top-notch." He gave a thumbs up. Alice Taylor glared daggers at Ethan Young, saying nothing. Director Liu was perceptive and instantly sensed the tense atmosphere. Seeing the look on Alice Taylor's face, his stomach dropped. Did they know each other? Why was Alice Taylor showing such hostility towards Ethan Young? Director Liu assumed Alice Taylor felt Ethan Young's status was too low to be her co-star. "Alice," he said quickly, "don't judge Ethan just because he's mainly done short web dramas and isn't widely known yet. He's a fantastic actor. We've worked together before, and he's a perfect fit for the male lead." Work together? How exactly did they work together? In bed? Alice Taylor thought venomously, and her words were just as sharp. How did someone like him get cast? How much money did you take from his sugar daddy? An actor who sleeps his way into roles. How good can he possibly be? Aren't you afraid he'll ruin the script? Casting someone with such a reputation. If his scandals break, this film won't even see the light of day. That's what she claimed, but what scandals did Ethan Young even have? Director Liu was completely baffled. Is there some misunderstanding? What sugar daddy? What casting couch rumors? He stood caught in the middle, looking helplessly between Alice Taylor and Ethan Young. finally turning a pleading look to Director He. Director He caught the signal and stepped in to mediate. "It's almost the auspicious time for the ceremony," he said smoothly. "Why don't we start by lighting the incense?" "Incense? What incense?" Alice Taylor exploded. When she signed the contract, she'd thought, for a script this good, she'd accept it even if the project turned out to be a disaster. But she hadn't expected a cesspool. Even if she managed to crawl out, she'd still stink of it. Her earlier excitement now matched the intensity of her anger. Alice Taylor stamped her foot, losing all composure. "You have to get rid of him. It's either him or me. If you insist on keeping him, then I quit." Director He looked troubled. "Well," Director Liu looked equally pained. What on earth was the history here? What grudge could make Alice Taylor despise Ethan Young this much? The two directors finally understood why Ethan Young had specifically warned them to keep his casting as the male lead strictly confidential. He must have anticipated this exact scenario, guessing Alice Taylor might refuse the role if she knew he was involved. So, he told her nothing, using the script as bait to lure her in. Clever Ethan Young. Alice Taylor had already signed the contract. No matter how unhappy she was obligated to see the film through. Meanwhile, Ethan Young stood there frowning, his eyes filled with confusion. This was the first time he'd ever met Alice Taylor. He truly couldn't understand why she had such a strong aversion to him. Alice Taylor didn't just dislike Ethan Young. She felt hostility, hatred, and revulsion towards him. Ethan Young was perceptive. He figured someone must have been bad-mouthing him. There's a saying, if someone suddenly changes their attitude towards you, it might not be something you did, but because some snake whispered lies behind your back. Ethan Young watched Alice Taylor silently for a moment. "You say I slept my way to the top. Do you have proof?" Alice Taylor was taken aback by the question. Ethan Young put his hands in his pockets. "If you can't prove I did those things, then you're spreading rumors. A golden rule. Never fall into the trap of having to prove your own innocence. The burden of proof lies with the accuser." Alice Taylor's expression faltered, her face flushing red. "I have a witness. Someone saw you trading your body for roles, being kept by someone, doing all sorts of degrading, cheap things." Alice Taylor blurted it all out, repeating everything Serena Sinclair had told her without thinking. Towards Ethan Young, Alice Taylor felt like a disillusioned fan. The more she'd liked him before, the more disgusted she was now, like she'd swallowed a fly. She stared at the mask on Ethan Young's face, her gaze shifting up to his eyes. Ethan Young's eyes, both their shape and color, were beautiful. It was those eyes that had drawn her in initially, making her subconsciously snap that photo. She had looked at that picture countless times, etching his image into her mind. She had originally wanted to look him up online, but the thought of all the disgusting things he'd supposedly done made her lose interest. Wearing a mask everywhere you go. You know you're too hideous to be seen, right? Only your eyes are decent. Bet you're ugly as sin under that mask. Alice Taylor wasn't the least bit curious about the face under Ethan Young's mask. Having eyes like that was probably the limit of his genetics. Maybe, just as Serena Sinclair said, the face underneath was unbearable to look at. Ethan Young let out a soft chuckle and calmly removed his mask. "Then I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. How could someone handsome not know it?" Ethan Young had received countless compliments on his looks growing up. If he weren't good-looking, a talent scout wouldn't have spotted him delivering food and recruited him to be an actor. Seeing Ethan Young's refined features, Alice Taylor's eyes flew wide open. She had considered he might be good-looking, but not this good-looking. The moment the mask came off, it was as if the light around them brightened. After a moment of stunned silence, Alice Taylor gritted her teeth. "You're still a scumbag. So what if you're handsome? Who knows how many naive girls you've deceived behind their backs? Who have I deceived? Have I deceived you?" Ethan Young almost laughed out of exasperation. "Since you say someone saw me trading my body for roles, call her over. Let's confront each other face to face." "Fine, I'll call her. You think I'm afraid of you?" Alice Taylor, losing her head in anger, pulled out her phone and called Serena Sinclair. The call went unanswered. Alice Taylor frowned and tried again. 3 calls in a row, all unanswered. Ethan Young, sharp-eyed, saw the contact name, Vivi. It was Serena Sinclair, all right. Truly a lingering ghost. If he had really climbed the ladder using the casting couch, how could he have remained relatively unknown all these years? Use your brain. But one part was true. He had indeed sold himself. Others sold their bodies for a night in bed, and it was over. He sold himself into a 5-year contract, slaving away day and night like an ox. Back then, Ethan Young would try to console himself, thinking, how boring would life be if everything always went smoothly? Thinking back now, How could it be boring? Alice Taylor couldn't get through. She gripped her phone tightly. She's not answering, but I wasn't lying. Ethan Young. Then how can you prove what she said is true? You've been in the entertainment industry for years. Don't you know right and wrong aren't decided by just one person? If everything anyone says is true, why did you sue those anti-fans back then? Alice Taylor froze. Her face had been red before, but now her ears were burning too. Her breathing was unsteady as she said impatiently, I can't win an argument with you. Anyway, if you don't kick him out, I'm quitting this movie. Alice Taylor turned and directed her anger at the director. Director, he wiped the sweat from his forehead. Alice Taylor, you signed a contract. You can't just quit like this. It's just a penalty for breach of contract, right? I can afford it, but you need to think carefully. I have the biggest draw in this entire production. Are you going to choose me, or this useless nobody? Director he and Director Liu exchanged glances, but said nothing. They weren't really in a position to speak. What a joke. If Ethan Young was useless, what did that make them? Ethan Young wasn't just the male lead. He was also the original screenwriter and, more importantly, the investor. He put up $20 million for this film. If they had to choose, they'd obviously choose Ethan Young. Who would be stupid enough to fire the investor? Ethan Young said, as far as I know, Miss Taylor established herself in the industry through her own abilities. Since you're so capable, you shouldn't need the Taylor family to help pay your contract penalty, right? Alice Taylor snorted coldly, her face full of disdain. Ethan Young continued, I always thought Miss Taylor was someone who respected agreements. If you insist on leaving, then fine. It's just a shame about this script. You've only seen 2/3 of it. The twists later on are even more brilliant. Rumor has it, the female lead was tailor-made for you. If you don't take it, we'll have to give it to someone else. Sigh, who should we give this role to? If filmed and acted well, it's bound to be a hit. What a pity. Alice Taylor knew Ethan Young was deliberately provoking her, using reverse psychology, but she couldn't stand it. She really couldn't bear to part with this script, especially after hearing it was written specifically for her. That feeling of being valued, of someone putting thought into her, was unparalleled. No wonder she had been so drawn to the story. It must have been a good person who wrote a story like this, she thought. Asterisk, and someone who understands me well, to create this role for me. Asterisk Alice Taylor didn't want to give it up, but she still felt resentful. Ethan Young gave Director Liu a look. Director Liu caught the signal and approached Alice Taylor. Alice Taylor, let's talk properly. Alice Taylor pressed her lips together and followed Director Liu, somewhat deflated. The two went somewhere private to talk. Director, he looked worried. Will that really work on Alice Taylor? Ethan Young stood perfectly still, his gaze inscrutable. Just wait. We'll have the results soon. 10 minutes later, Director Liu returned with Alice Taylor, smiling. All right, everyone gather for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. The opening ceremony is starting. Time for red envelopes. Alice Taylor stood reluctantly next to Ethan Young for photos. Ethan Young, I'm only staying out of respect for the screenwriter. But Director Liu promised me, if your acting sucks, they'll replace you. So you better pray you're good enough. She loved this story. She didn't want the screenwriter's efforts to go to waste. Director Liu had also promised her that after filming, he would arrange for her to meet the screenwriter. What kind of person are they? The thought of meeting the screenwriter in person made her uncontrollably excited, a sweet feeling spreading through her heart as if she'd eaten honey. She carefully held the script, her gaze softening.